Back in August, over 1,500 teams started two-a-day practices in the blistering Texas heat with aspirations to play deep into November. All throughout the fall, these teams battled it out on the field week after week, jockeying for one of the top 4 spots in their district. Now tonight, the teams that proved to be one of those top teams in their district begin a whole new season, one where a single play can determine if they get to go home or get to keep playing or have to go home. The path to AT&T Stadium has got just a little bit narrower, but the intensity at a whole nother level as we begin the playoffs tonight-ish. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, these teams started out in August, and now the handful of teams that were able to make it in, it's a whole different level of intensity tonight for them. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of these teams that were disappointed with their runs last year, they're going to have a chance to, this is what they were itching for, right?
Yeah.
We see a lot of these teams who look forward to November, kind of overlooking the regular season a little bit, maybe stumble out the gates because they're so excited to get to this point. Well, now this is it, right? We had a little taste last week where we saw some win and get in games, but now it's for the real deal, right? If you win, you keep playing, and the only thing left to play for is a chance to go to AT&T and then hoist that trophy inside AT&T.
Well, again, it's a lot of fun, a whole different level of intensity for all these games where, again, just a single play can determine if a team continues to keep playing or if they have to go home. And we got a couple of really exciting games for our spotlight games tonight as we open up the postseason. How about this right out to start the gate? Yeah. Denton, Ryan, and Lake Belton, two teams that we have featured heavily on this show. They're going head-to-head. That should be a very fun matchup throughout the night. And then we have the Salina Bobcats taking on the Paris Wildcats, Cy Springs, and Tomball Memorial. McKinney North taking on Barbers Hill. That'll be a fun quarterback matchup in that game. Klein Kane taking on Bridgeland, and Pearland and Dickinson. The spotlight games for the first round of the playoffs. And again, I mean, you look, that top one, Denton, Ryan, and Lake Belton, I mean, there are a lot of phenomenal games tonight, but what are one or two, it might be that top one, but one or two that really stand out for you that probably have some fireworks tonight?
Yeah, I'll mention that first one because Denton, Ryan, of course, they started off the year pretty slow. Of course, that close win over New Braunfels, people are like, is Denton, Ryan here? They've been fine since then, right? But now they really get to kind of prove how vintage Denton, Ryan they've been if they come out with a statement win over Lake Belton. But also, if you're Lake Belton, this is a chance for you to put yourself saying, hey, look, right, like we're actually here as one of the new emerging powers, of course, with guys like Micah Hudson and Samani Bridges and all those guys. So that one definitely, but I'm going to look at the one that you hinted at, the quarterback matchup. McKinney North versus Barbers Hill. That's two offenses that basically the first one to blink, right? Because we mentioned Cody Fuentes, the quarterback from Barbers Hill, and now we mentioned Colin Hitchcock as well with Nate Markiewicz at tight end, leading kind of a very interesting skill position group. It's going to be kind of which defense can make the random play here and there to kind of mess things up, get people off script a little bit. So that's the one that I'm actually going to have my eye on. I feel bad for whoever's statting that game because that one's probably going to have a lot of yards and a lot of points.
Well, like every week, I mean, we're amped up for these games for Friday night, but the playoffs actually got started last night as we go down to the Houston area. We had a matchup last night, Northshore taking on Deer Park, where it was a slow start for the Mustangs offense, and actually Deer Park would get the scoring started as Hayden Smith, the sophomore quarterback, would connect that time with Landon Kaiserholz and give Deer Park the 7-0 lead in the opening quarter, so a strong start for them. It would take till the second quarter, but Caleb Bailey, an 11-yard scamper into the end zone to tie the game at 7, and that's kind of the catalyst the Mustangs offense needed to get them going. They get the ball again there in the second quarter, and it's going to be DeAndre Hardiman's 17-yard rumble into the end zone to give the Mustangs their first lead of the night. They would take that 14-7 lead into the halftime break, and Caleb Bailey again with using his legs, but this time for 53 yards to the house, and Northshore goes up 21-7 as Caleb Bailey with a couple of rushing touchdowns into the third quarter. It's going to be Hardiman again, this time not from just about 20 yards out. He's going to take this 84 yards untouched, making it look easy all the way to the end zone, 28-7 Mustangs, and they just keep rolling in the third quarter, but this time they're going to get some scoring from their defense because this is going to be the junior linebacker, Charlie Ross. The fumble ball on the ground, Ross able to pick it up. He goes 23 yards to the house, so they get scoring from all different ways, the Mustangs last night, and going into the fourth quarter, up big Northshore with the ball again. And this is going to be a big-time catch as Caleb Bailey puts it right on the dot, 44-yard connection. And the Mustangs end up getting the 42-14 win as they roll in their by-district matchup, 42-14, as we go now to Gavin Moritz, who was on the call for that game.
Gavin Moritz here alongside Morton Ranch offensive coordinator and color commentator Matt Skiba. Coach, we just saw Northshore knock off Deer Park 42-14, but the score is not indicative really of how the game was played, especially in that first half, right?
No way. I mean, early on, this was a fantastic game. You had two teams, 9-1 Deer Park, 10-0 Northshore. It looked like it was going to be that game. Deer Park jumps out to the early lead, 7-0. They're getting blocked punts. I mean, they're doing all these amazing things to stay in the game, playing on short fields. Northshore struggling a little bit with ball security, and the game kind of ends that way in the first half, 14-7, so it's pretty close in the first half of play.
As it was 14-7 Northshore at the half, they ended up winning it 42-14 the final. We kind of saw DeAndre Hardiman, he was our go-route player of the game, kind of turned it on in the second half. A couple long touchdown runs. We had one long touchdown run, the one from 84.
Yeah, super impressive run. Northshore does a fantastic job of kind of adjusting at halftime. They go to a kind of a heavier personnel grouping, heavier personnel packages. Next thing you know, they're running the ball into the heart and the teeth of the Deer Park defense, which is what they struggled with in the first part of the game. Great second half, halftime adjustments, and a big third quarter from them extends the lead, and they get the sack fumble on defense on top of that. So they kind of put it away.
As Northshore wins it over Deer Park 42-14 here at home to start the playoffs. And Northshore moving on to take on either Clear Springs or Shadow Creek. They play tomorrow night, as the Mustangs will face the winner of that game next week in the area round. And that'll do it for us here on Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
All right, so a bit of a slow start for the Mustangs in that first half, but once they were able to get Caleb Bailey going, he had the 11-yard touchdown, and then obviously when you get a running back like Hardman, when you get him going, those are a couple of tough guys to stop, but the quarterback really getting that offense started there.
I love how all year we were wondering if they were kind of holding Caleb Bailey back a little bit with his legs, and now in two of the biggest games of the year against Atascocita, and then of course in their first playoff game he rips off two huge runs. This one, like you mentioned, kind of ignites a third quarter that they eventually just blow out Deer Park. I do want to mention, so they get Shadow Creek and Clear Springs coming up. I penciled in Shadow Creek because but Clear Springs right now up 13-0.
Oh.
So we'll see. Again, that could potentially be something. It's early, first quarter, right? We'll see. As we saw last night in this game, right? Slow starts happen. But Northshore, like you mentioned, that third quarter was kind of scary because it kind of reminded you how good this team could be if they just kind of snap out of it.
And then they get a score from the defense as well. So they got weapons on all sides of the field. Last night, a couple of blue blood programs in DFW went head-to-head in the cold and rain. Ish, I think you've got highlights on that one on the other side of the break. It was a lot of fun, but hey, we've got so much playoff action to bring you right here for week number 12 of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step. the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
We're going to head over to John Clark Stadium in Plano now to check out the other highlight from last night between Allen and Lewisville. A pair of powerhouses also paired up in a by-district game. Let's start off here in the first quarter. This one was a physical one. This one's going to be Ethan Terrell, the Jackson State commit. He's going to take it himself. Look at that. Down the right side, 74 yards. Can somebody get him? No, maybe. Probably not. No, look at that. Lewisville striking first. And look at that. All of a sudden, are we looking at an upset of Allen in the by-district round? Brady Bricker here, he's going to do it himself. He says, you know what, I can do that too. Maybe not from 74 yards, but maybe from 22. This one's going to tie it, this is going to give Allen a lead after a safety. 9-7 now, heading into the second quarter. This one's going to be Tennell Hill. Terrell's going to hand it off to him, bouncing off some tacklers. Look at that juke move to the right side. Get to the corner of the end zone, regain the lead for the Fighting Farmers. Allen here, they were without Brady Bricker for the rest of the game. They had to go to their third-string quarterback, so they had to find some points in other ways. This is a little bit of a hint to maybe what's going to happen here. This is going to be Caleb Smith on the 96-yard touchdown run. Look at his blocking downfield. Way to follow his man there down the right sideline. He's going to go almost untouched, clear back to the other side as he goes and puts Allen back on top. 15-14, a massive swing there for the Eagles. And in the fourth quarter, they had to make one stand. They had to stop Ethan Terrell holding on to a 1-point lead. And this defense was fantastic all night. Look at him being chased by the defensive line there. He's going to throw it up. And right there to the defender, Kai Wheaton, he's going to pick off Ethan Terrell with just over 3 minutes to go. And Allen's going to hold on to this one, 18-17. And this one had Grayson Nillette and Cardi Barfnecht on the call. So we're going to go to them right now.
What's going on, everybody? It's Grayson Nillette and Cody Barfnick here. We just got off the call for the Lewisville Fighting Farmers versus Allen Eagles by-district matchup broadcast here from John Clark Stadium in Plano, Texas. Allen comes out on top and advances in the Texas high school football playoffs with an 18-17 victory, getting the 1-point win over Lewisville and knocking them out after getting shut out in the first round of last year's playoffs against the Fighting Farmers. Cody, rainy night in Plano, so obviously sloppy conditions on the field. But overall, Allen, amazing defensive performance, especially in the second half, basically shutting down the Lewisville Fighting Farmers. Pass game and run game, really not getting anything going on that side of things if you were the Fighting Farmers. And really overall, you just got to be impressed with how Allen performed on the defensive side especially, and they got just enough done on offense even after their starting quarterback went down with injury.
Yeah, Allen had to fight through a lot of adversity tonight. We knew that the conditions were going to play a factor at some point. They did early because Lewisville couldn't really get the run game going as they've been able to all season long, but you have to credit Allen's defense. They came out against a state-ranked team. Their quarterback goes down for the night early, and they did what they had to do to win. They survived and advanced and beat a state-ranked team in the first round and avenged a loss last year.
Yeah, you got to think about the fact that, such a huge win for, Coach Wiggington. This is his first win with the program. This team got shut out again by Lewisville in the same matchup in last year's playoffs. So big revenge win, really a huge boost to an Allen program that has certainly not played up to the normal standards that they've set for themselves the last couple of years. Massive win for their program, getting to advance in the playoffs. Obviously, kind of a disappointing end to the season for Lewisville, who went so deep in the playoffs last season, but they've got a very optimistic future for sure with a lot of young talent coming up, but nonetheless, amazing win for Allen.
Yeah, all it takes is momentum. If you're a team like Allen, Coach Wigginton gets his first win as a head coach in the playoffs, and Allen, that 7-4 record, it's a little bit of a mirage because they've played well against a lot of great teams this year. They do it again tonight against Lewisville, and they get that ball rolling, they can make a deep playoff run.
That's going to do it for us here from Plano. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, guys. And Ish, you talk about hopefully that is a tone setter for what we'll see tonight and all throughout the playoffs. An instant classic out there last night.
No, it really was. Like I mentioned, Brady Bricker did not finish the game for Allen, their starting quarterback. Dylan Chapman had to come in, and then he was out, and so they had to go to Brett Holloway, their sophomore. And again, all it turns out to be was him needing to drive the car, right?
Yeah.
Because that defense really frustrated Ethan Terrell. They really took away the run game entirely for them. You meant that run that he had, those 2 touchdown runs they had, was basically it.
Yeah.
And so they came out throwing the ball, which was, again, in the weather, not the best conditions to be throwing the ball. Zena Omiozulu, the Texas commit, was fantastic, probably the best player in this game, in my opinion, for that Allen defensive line. And by the way, Allen, they started 0-2, right? They got blown out by DeSoto. They got beat
Everyone was
convincingly
asking,
by
wow, Allen is not playing.
Their other 2 losses since then, 1-score game loss to Denton Guyer, and then a 1-point loss to Prosper. This is still a team that's pretty dang good, and of course they just knocked off a Lewisville team that we had high expectations for. So I'm just going to say this, right? We all kind of wrote off Allen as like, yeah, this is not it, whatever. Lee Wigginton has them playing ball right now. They've overcome adversity, as we mentioned earlier in the season, so let's just say, watch out for the Eagles. It's weird for me to say that. Watch out for them because, of course, they're Allen, but it is. They may be turning it around at the right time.
Yeah, so again, a great start to the first round of the playoffs last night for the Allen Eagles. Of course, we've got a great show for you. We'll hear from the broadcasters out on the scene tonight. I think we got some maybe hand-selected picks from Ish Johnson a little bit later on in the show. But again, it's going to be a very exciting night here on Texas Football Tonight. And as you've probably seen and guessed by now, it takes a village to cover every corner of this great sport across the Lone Star State. And here at Dave Campbell's, of course, we have the absolute best minds out and about bringing the fan at home into the action. Let's see what they've been up to in this latest edition of the DCTF vlog.
It's week 11 of the Texas high school football season. The weather's getting cold, playoff brackets are getting filled in, and district titles are being won. Can't ask for much more if you're a Texas high school football fan. And tonight, I'm headed up to Melissa for a big District 7 5A Division II showdown for the district title as state-ranked Lovejoy takes on state-ranked Melissa in beautiful Kenny Deal Stadium. My first visit up there, so looking forward to it. But first, I got to stop off in McKinney for a little pregame fuel at Hutchins Barbecue, one of the best barbecue spots in DFW. So let's get a little bite to eat, and then we'll head up to Melissa. If you know, you know. Hutchins Barbecue.
Got a little sausage, a little brisket, Texas Twinkie, green beans, mac and cheese. Hutchins Barbecue, let's go. Getting a look here at Kenny Deal Stadium in Melissa. Decided tonight's state-ranked showdown between the Lovejoy Leopards and the Melissa Cardinals. It is a beautiful facility. Here on the field at Kenny Deal Stadium in Melissa, state-ranked showdown. The homie Mike Roach. There you go. Unbelievable facility here in Melissa. Go on a little tour of the press box here at Kenny Deal Stadium. We got coaches' booths, announcer booth. We got a film deck. We got a hospitality area here. We're gonna go down here. We got another media room here. Got a trophy case right there. Another media room, coaches box, home radio, and then in the media room here, we got a nice little press area and very comfy chairs to hang out in at halftime. Melissa thought of everything. final Friday night of the Texas high school football season. We're here at Northwest ISD Stadium, where Byron Nelson will look to complete an undefeated regular season against arch rival Eaton. Should be a good one. We got Texan Live right here on the tablet, ready to watch some other games online. Playoffs are near. All right, a little hospitality here at Northwest ISD. We got a little pasta and meatballs, some bread, and for health, some green beans. Appreciate the hospitality. You know I'm a sucker for a good funnel cake. Northwest ISD, you found your way to my heart. Nick-ish pickle. There you go. Funnel cakes. Northwest ISD Stadium. Press box eats.
During the first quarter, while there was a little bit of a dead time, I was asking, can we get a preview of tomorrow night's Croutin Corner?
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
All right, so for some reason they got me over here on the green screen, so we're just going to see exactly what happens. Hopefully I don't mess things up too badly. But like Nick mentioned, we're going to be talking about some picks, some of my picks. You can see which teams to avoid if you don't trust my picks. Some of them are already wrong, by the way. We'll get to that in one of the brackets later if there's a little hint. So let's start in Region 1 of 2A D2. Okay, so my pick here is New Home, right? Of course, they played last night, and so they're already in. They're already advancing. They're going to draw the winner of Sunray and Wheeler. Why does that matter? Sunray probably has the best quarterback in the classification, or at least definitely the region at the very least. So if they get Sunray, that all of a sudden makes a very interesting round 2 matchup for them in area. Another team to watch out for potentially is Groover. Groover is a team that's been to state, right? They kind of would love to erase the memories of that loss to Mart a couple years ago. And so they're a team definitely to kind of keep your eye on, in my opinion. Let's go down to Region 2, and we have the reigning state champions in 2A D2, Albany. Denny Fates, guys. got the monkey off their back, and all of a sudden things are a breeze, right? They breezed through the playoffs last year. They even breezed through a win over Mart, which never happens, right? And so definitely it's hard for me to pick anybody but them, but I mentioned pedigree. Windthorst, they've been here, they've won it, they've beaten Mart, they know what it takes exactly to get back there. So watch out for Windthorst. Collinsville and Wink as well are two teams to watch out for, in my opinion, as far as this region goes. Let's spin over here to Region 3, and I mean, it's Mart. Kevin Hoffman, multiple state titles. It's weird when it's not Mart, right? It feels weird at this point. So I'm going to say some team out there, go prove me wrong. Right, go prove me wrong if you want me to consider somebody not named Mart in this scenario. So, of course, they beat Cumbie last night. They beat They're probably going to be favored against Overton. A little bit of a hint there. So, yeah. Then let's go to Region 4. And all of a sudden, you got some teams with a lot of pedigree. You have Bremont. You have Fall City, which played for a state championship a couple years ago. But then you get the way bottom over here. And you got, literally the way bottom, Chilton. I'm going to go with Chilton to come out of this region. I think they're playing hot at the right time. They've kind of ended the season pretty well. So this one's interesting. Bremont, Fall City are teams to watch out for, but give me Chilton. Let's start now with 2A Division 1 as we switch the bracket over here. All right, so we start up top. Now, I know Stratford as well. I talk about pedigree, but the reigning state champions are here. Hawley, Deontay Ramon, Abels at quarterback, he's one of the best when it comes to just utilizing the playmakers that they have. I think Hawley showed something last year in that state championship game, state championship win, I should say, over Refugio. That kind of terrified me. Nobody's dominated Refugio like that probably in a long time. So I'm going to pick the Hawley Bearcats to come out of here again. But again, don't sleep on Stratford. Toller in Region 2 is my pick. The Rattlers kind of came onto the scene last year. Now, I want to say I think the momentum carries over and pushes them through, but our guy Matt Stepp says don't forget about Marlin. Marlin last year, heading into last year, was one of the early favorites to kind of come out of this region, definitely contend for a state title. It hasn't happened, but they're not bad. They haven't gone away. So our guy Stepp says to watch out for them as a sleeper pick. Go to TexasFootball.com to check that out. Check out all of his sleeper picks. Also, Axtell, another ranked team in this region as well, definitely a team to look out for if you want some other teams beside the favorite, in my opinion, which will be Toller. All right, let's go to Region 3. Look, this one can kind of honestly be called the honorary Terry Bussey region because until somebody else kind of steps up and knocks off Timpson, it's going to be Timpson. Now, Beckville, look, I like Beckville. I like Jacoby Williams. I think they have a really talented team, but we've seen how that game's played out the past couple of years in the regular season. They can shut me up, and they can come out of here. They obviously beat Alba Golden in the by-district round. They can come out and play Timpson, set up a rematch in the regional final, and come out on top. We've seen that happen where teams play each other in the regular season. It goes one way. All of a sudden, it flips back the other way. So, again, Timpson till it's not Timpson, but Beckville, I'm listening. All right, let's go down to Region 4, and basically the Refugio, Shiner, Mason region for the longest time. I think it's still going to be the Refugio region, right? I think they kind of showed last year after the Brooks brothers left, okay, cool, we're back in the driver's seat here. But I'll say this, right? It seems like every year it's one of those three teams, but don't sleep on Holland this year, right? Shiner's a little bit down by their standards. Mason's down by their standards. And again, it's Refugio, or it's one of those three teams until it's not. But I'll say if there's a team this year that could break up that trio, maybe it's Holland. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just throwing things out there. Again, you don't have to listen to me. If you hate my picks, you can absolutely just throw them away and say, cool, I'm not going with that team now that he picked them. All right, let's switch up and go to 3A Division 2 now as we switch the bracket now. All right, cool. Thank you, guys. And so let's go up here, 3A D2. And, I mean, you can call this the Canadian region, and then you can probably call Region 2 the Gunner region because, again, it's similar to where unless it's them until it's not them. Let's put it this way. But let's go with Canadian because, again, that's what kind of happens. They haven't missed a beat, even though Chris Ketting is no longer there. They haven't missed a beat. Wall is another team I'll want to watch out for, but it always seems like every year I think it's going to be Wall's year, and it just never quite there. But I'll listen to the Hawks for a little bit if they want to shut me up and come out of this region. All right, Gunner, in my opinion, the best offense, or at least the most fun offense in the state out of that pistol option. I mean, look, Coach Fazell, basically they've set up rematches every single year with Canadian in the state semifinal game, and I don't see a reason why that wouldn't continue. But Holiday's a team that's been trying to get over the Gunner hump for so many years now. They have a really good team. They were ranked heading into the playoffs in the top 10. Maybe Jacksboro is another team to potentially watch out for if you want somebody else in this region. All right, going over to Region 3. This is one that's a little interesting to me because I like Gilmer Harmony. Gilmer Harmony is a team that came out of the region, or excuse me, that really showed up last year as kind of a new emerging threat. And so I'm going to ride that because I think we had them in the magazine as well coming out of Region 3. I'm going to ride that and say they're going to keep it going. They're going to come out of Region 3. But hooks, Newton, remember Newton? Yeah, they're still around. And then my guys at West Rusk, I always got to throw out a shout out to West Rusk as well. My guys, Tyler Wilbanks, the offensive coordinator there, Cordell Smith as well. They have another team this year, right? They lose their quarterback. He goes to Lamar, and they're just fine. They're still rolling. So, again, this one's going to be interesting. I'm taking Gilmer Harmony. But, again, Newton seemingly every year is going to be there as well under Coach Johnston. All right, let's go to the bottom now. And, look, Edna came out of this region last year. Poth came out of this region last year. And I have Poth coming out of this region. But Tidehaven, something about Tidehaven, they knocked off Buffalo yesterday. Something about them is really interesting. I think this could be a really interesting matchup. Poth didn't, in my opinion, didn't necessarily dominate their way to where they should be the odds-on favorite. And so maybe this is a situation where we're looking for a team to kind of emerge as that to knock them out of that spot. So that's 3AD2. Let's go to 3AD1 now, where I think there's some interesting scenarios here because in my opinion, I don't think we have an odds-on favorite in any region in 3AD1. So let's start in Region 1. You got Brock. And Brock, for the past 2 years, has been the best 0-3, 0-4 team to start the season. Go look at their non-district schedule. It explains itself. But I'm expecting them, again, to come out of this region. And, of course, they have Iowa Park tonight. Again, they're a team that turns it on at the right time, right? But Jim Ned, Paradise, who's in their district, I believe, and then Bushland as well. Again, Brock's shown the ability to not play down to their competition. That's the wrong word, but maybe not come off to the best starts. So we'll see. That's all I'm saying. I have Brock, I have the Eagles, but we'll see. Region 2, this one gets interesting because I have Malakoff, right? But if you look at the rankings, Winsboro's right there, right? Mount Vernon, who in my opinion has the best defensive player in 3A in oh my gosh, blanking on his name right now. Boone Morris right now, linebacker, who I think leads the state in tackles, or at least 3A in tackles, former UTSA commit, I believe, as well. So, again, he could really, Mount Vernon's been up and down this year, but he could really kind of ignite some things for them if he's healthy and he's able to lead that defense. So, I'm picking Malakoff, but Winsboro right there, really close. Let's go over to Region 3 now, and this is what I meant by made me look stupid, because I had Hitchcock not only come out of this region, I had Hitchcock winning the whole I had Hitchcock right here in state championship. So they get knocked off yesterday by Little River Academy, right? Lloyd Jones, of course, did what he could, but that defense just really couldn't keep up. I know they lost, Hitchcock lost Damian McDaniel I believe in the regular season. And so they couldn't overcome that. Credit to Little River Academy. All of a sudden, they're here. And so, look, I had Hitchcock, but that probably shows how stupid I am because Columbus is here. And then also, by the way, the reigning state champions, Franklin, is still right here as well. So, look, I probably would go Franklin now, but we've seen how my pick goes in Region 3, so maybe we just throw that to the side and ignore that for now. Edna in Region 4, I mentioned them a little bit ago mistakenly, but this is what I meant to say. Edna came out of Region 4 last year. Very strong team, but they did not end the year very well. I have Edna coming out of this region again, but Jourdanton is somebody to really watch. We'll see in this area round matchup what exactly is going to happen. Our guy Step loves Universal City Randolph. Shout out to the troops on Veterans Day. But Universal City Randolph, they ended the year very strong, and I think that Edna, the way they ended the year, kind of makes them a little vulnerable. So, again, those are my picks. Again, as you see with the Region 3, don't pay attention to them if you don't want. So that'll do it for us, though. We'll come back with 4, 5, and 6A, later on. But that'll do it for us. And we're going to head to break. We'll be back maybe with some quad box. Who knows? We'll see.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight as we take a look at some of those scores, the opening round in 1A D2. So we're taking a look at some of these and a lot of lopsided scores so far in Division II.
Except for one there at the bottom there. It's within a couple scores. And in six-man, that's basically a single one-score game, more or less.
So we see a couple of those scores, though, but we got some highlights rolling in now as we take a look at Tomball taking on Cy Falls in their bi-district matchup. And we got a couple of big offensive plays early on for Tomball as they get started. This is going to be from about 11 yards out. It's a bit of a screen, and nice move there at the end to take the defender in as Tomball gets the scoring started 7-0 there in the opening quarter. They're looking for a little bit more, sticking around up 7-0 now into the second. Again, another long drive. This is going to be a fake handoff as the quarterback keeps it himself, getting to the outside edge and strolling in 14-0 in favor of Tomball in the second quarter. And now Cy Fair looking to find a little bit of momentum, about 5.5 minutes left in the first half. So they're starting to drive, and then that's an absolute dart and a beautiful catch in the end zone to get Cy Fair on the board. That would make it 14-6 as Cy Fair trying to get the extra point now, and it's going to be a special teams play by the defense as they block it and take it all the way back. As they got a convoy of blockers on the blocked point after attempt, and Tomball all the way back for the 2 points. So they've got a 16-6 lead over Cy Falls there in the second quarter. As now we bring it into quad box, and of course now getting into the postseason, it's just every game now in this quad box, I mean, just so exciting because now, you know, a single play can determine the outcome of a playoff game.
Yeah, it looks like we're seeing a touchdown from Lake Belton here to get close the lead. It looked like Ryan took a huge deficit there that they're looking to chop into a little bit.
Yeah, so again, this we were talking about going to be a phenomenal game. These two teams we've talked about a lot during our run of this first season of the show, and looking at Lake Belton with a big score there toward the end of the half to close the gap, and we've got a nice trio on the call for that game. Is I think we're going to welcome in Mackenzie Freeman, Josh Ortega, and John Misalik, who are on the call for that game. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and it looks like so far that opening half has kind of lived up to the hype that we were looking for, a couple of those big programs going head-to-head.
Yeah, definitely a good game. I mean, you obviously have Micah Hudson, who's obviously a great receiver committed to Texas Tech. He makes 2 big plays in crunch time for Lake Belton. Josh, you want to?
I think something too, the Denton Ryan offense and defense have been kind of both back and forth in terms of momentum. They've been really good to start this first half.
When you're looking at this game, I know Ryan came out to a big lead there, but what kind of was established early on in the game to kind of give them that early lead? Because it looked like I know Belton just answered towards the end there, but what kind of did Ryan do to kind of establish their early advantage?
I mean, I absolutely could say that it's been the run game, but it's really been the defense. Their defense forced Lake Belton to a 3-and-out on that first drive, and ever since then, it's almost like every other drive they're getting either a turnover or forcing a punt out of Lake Belton.
I think as well, the good point is that the run game, these design quarterback runs have been really good from Braden Mussett, obviously with 2 touchdowns, and then the rushing touchdown from Craig Reynolds as well. It's really opened up this run game, opening up this offense. So I think both sides of the ball have been phenomenal, just getting a start to this game and really putting it at their opponent.
Defensively for Ryan, I know Hudson just scored there towards the end, but what have they done to kind of hold him in check? Because, not many teams across the state can kind of keep him in check as opposed to limit what he can do, I guess.
I think it's the pursuit. They're doing really well at just kind of getting them in these kind of small gains, negative plays. So they're doing a really good job at pursuit, as well as just limiting them in coverage. They're putting a guy on man press, man coverage, jamming him at the line. So they're doing a lot of job to just limit him. Obviously, a player like Micah Hudson, you're not going to take out of this game, but Ryan's doing a great job at just limiting him in this offense and forcing Mascarenas to go to these other receivers.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what he's saying, it's really this defensive line hasn't been giving Mascarenas the time to go through all of his possessions. I believe we've already seen 3 or 4 tackles for losses. Errol West, the sophomore, he's been doing really good. We saw him even chase down Hudson to end a run that would have been a touchdown.
Talking about the Denton Ryan defensive line, but just taking a quick look at the stats at the break, it looks like the offensive line for Denton Ryan has been doing their job as well, because it looks like the running game has gotten off to a good start, and they've got a trio of guys with some big chunk plays on the ground. Yeah,
the key, obviously they've got Nemo Warmett, who's their #1 rusher, but what we're seeing is the patience out of Braden Mussett. He's waiting behind his offensive line and cutting back quick to get some of those open holes, and that's what we saw on their first play of the game that led to the touchdown.
Yeah, like you said, these design quarterback runs are really just tearing up this defense. I think as well, having the diversity in that running back room, you have 3 backs who are all change of paces, so they all bring something different to the offense. I think it's just a great way to have and a great problem to have if you're Denton Ryan.
And I'm sure Denton Ryan in that second half would like to keep it that way, keeping it on the ground, keeping Micah Hudson on the sidelines. Lastly, do you think that Ryan defense can keep Hudson in check for the entire second half? Because that doesn't happen very often.
Maybe not necessarily. He already has 2 touchdowns, but he's really doing everything. We've seen a couple of guys shine through on a couple of plays, like Zach Dodd. He had that one big play, I believe, up at about the 30-yard line. But other than that, the Cash Robbins, the Zach Dodd, they've been kept fairly quiet. So Micah Hudson may have a good game, but I think the defense will hold the rest of the receivers to low yardage.
I do think that, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to limit Micah Hudson as much as you can, but you're not going to take him out of this game. And I think if you see the other receivers, like Mackenzie just mentioned, make the big plays, and maybe you see more of Micah Hudson's for Ryan, I think defensively you just got to continue to take him out of this game and continue to force Mascarenas to look for these other receivers.
All right, Mackenzie Freeman and Josh Ortega, again, thank you so much for joining us. That should be a very exciting second half. Denton Ryan with the lead, and yeah, I mean, already 2 touchdowns for Micah Hudson, and that's usually pretty good. But
sure.
Again, looking at the stats of this game so far, the running game has been a big part for Denton Ryan, but I mean, that's something that they've done all year long.
Yeah, as you can see here, averaging 186 yards on the ground, and that's, I mean, if you would have told, Hennigan, hey, by the way, Micah Hudson's gonna have 2 touchdowns, but you're gonna be up.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, that's probably what we expected,
Yeah.
right? I don't say this is playing into their hands, but they know he's gonna get his, right? But as you see, if they can keep it balanced, especially on the ground, like you mentioned, the offensive line's really establishing a physicality to this one that can just kind of keep things in their control. So again, 27 points a game. They're not an explosive, throw it down the field and just like dominate teams. They're a really methodical offense. You hardly see dominant teams have sub 30 points per game, right?
Yep.
But that's the way they controlled games. So again, I mentioned how slow they started the season, slow by their standards. But they've been fine, right? They have key wins over Justin Northwest, Burleson Centennial. As you're seeing here, Selman Bridges, if they're going to come back in this game, Lake Belton, I mean, Selman Bridges is going to need to have a big game defensively because they're going to need a play or two if they are getting outmatched physically in the trenches. Okay, then we're going to need somebody to kind of step up with an interception here and there, with maybe a forced fumble or something. And you got to look at their star defensive back to be the one to do it.
Well, the Denton Ryan secondary having themselves a pretty good first half with a couple interceptions in the first 2 quarters of play.
Yep.
So we take a look at this one now, Paris and Salina, and it's all Salina in the second quarter, and a big return coming here, though, as Paris tries to respond.
Man, how about that? That is fun.
All right, so there's a couple of special teams plays. We saw the blocked extra point return back for Tomball just in a moment, and now Paris with a big kickoff return to get on the board there in the second quarter. So,
yeah, I mean, as you can see, they desperately needed that one because that one was on the verge of potentially getting out of hand pretty quickly. 21-0, of course, with Salina, but yeah, no, much needed one for them. I believe Paris also, Trevin Hohenberger, their quarterback, it's going to be a lot on his shoulders, but he's not necessarily the type of quarterback that's going to air it out. He's very on the ground based. They're a physical team, so. They were needing points, and they can't let this game get away because that kind of takes them out of their game plan. So they definitely needed that one. All right, so we're going to go. We have some more highlights here. Let's go. How about some Humble Atascocita versus Pasadena Doby? We're going to start here in the first quarter. It's going to be Zion Brown who's going to scramble to the right. Look at this. Get around the corner. Get around the defense there. He's going to get in the end zone from 11 yards out, give Atascocita an early lead. And we're going to keep it with Atascocita. This is going to be Claude Slaughter up the middle. Look at that wide open hole right through the defense of the Doby secondary. That's going to be around 43 yards for Claude Slaughter. And you know what? Let's keep it here right now. Doby is going to be, or keep it in the first quarter, Doby's going to get the ball. They're going to look to cross midfield. And it's going to be a fumble here? Oh, no, he's going to make a man miss. Just kidding. He's going to make a man miss. Gets down to... Oh, no, he did fumble. Look at that. He's going to lose the ball just when Doby needed it. When he thought Doby had their biggest play of the game, he's going to return it near past midfield, just past midfield, and huge momentum swing there for Atascocita. Now it's going to be Zion Brown again in the shotgun. He's going to take the ball. He's going to look. He's going to find an open receiver down the sidelines. Forgot about his man. Wide open. No one within 10 yards of him. Look at that downfield blocking, by the way. 71 yards to the house. 23-0 Atascocita right now. And we're going to stay in the second quarter, Doby gets their first points of the game. This is going to be Clint Savoy on the return, and just when Doby started thinking they were going to get back into this one, Savoy says, nope, just kidding. We're pushing this back to a 3-score game. He's going to make it 30-7. Now, my goodness. Now, last score update, it was 30-14 Atascocita on this one.
I mean, Ken, we've kind of seen that the last couple of weeks for Atascocita, starting to find their rhythm again. So it should be fun to see how that plays out. We've got another fun game going on in Cypress, Texas, as now we're going to be joined by Chris Elliott on the call for Klein Kane and Bridgeland. And Bridgeland has a 24-14 lead at the halftime break in that contest. But again, Chris Elliott, thank you so much for joining us and just kind of take us through. It looks like a strong defensive performance in that first half for Bridgeland.
Yeah, great to be with you guys. Week 1 of the 6A Big Boy Division I playoffs. Where else would you rather be? We're at Cy-Fair Federal Credit Union Stadium, one of the crown jewels venues in the Houston metro area. Bridgeland comes in the 1 seed out of 16 6A. They jump out to a 24-0 lead. Their defense was dominant. Klein Kane was number 1 in their district, 15 6A, averaging just under 500 yards of offense per game. And again, 24-0. Bridgeland jumps out a late rally as Klein Kane scores on 2 long touchdown passes. The first points of their ball game for the Hurricanes came with a little bit over 4 minutes remaining in that first half. It was a 44-yard touchdown to Blaine Bullard. And then on their subsequent possession, they forced the only Bridgeland punt of the night after they scored their first touchdown. That's Klein Kane went down 24-7. They had it in their end, 4th and 4. And Coach James Clancy rolls the dice with a fake punt. Snapped it to the up back. It was a successful 4th down conversion. 3 plays later, Blaine Bullard again, this time from 48 yards out. That young man came into the ballgame with 956 receiving yards, so he's over 1,000 yards receiving on the season, and they make this a ball game. It was getting to the point where it was getting out of hand, 24-0. And again, a 14-point rally late in that second quarter has Klein Kane in position to make this a ball game.
Yeah, I know Klein Kane's Isaiah Mooring kind of goes through him. Of course, Darius Rogers as well. What was kind of behind the slow start? Was it just them kind of struggling to get off the snide, or was it Bridgeland kind of coming out and kind of keying in on their playmakers?
Yeah, obviously Mooring a bit of a dual threat, heavier on the passing threat, but their bell cow is Darius Rogers. That young man came in 1,220 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns. So the answer to your question is up front, the Bridgeland front 7 is very salty, and they were bottling up Rogers. I think his longest carry of that first half was 11 yards. So they bottled up the run game, and then they can kind of sit back and look for Mooring to, try and make connections in the passing game. And until the last 2 possessions of the half, he had very little success. So credit again to that Bridgeland D. And I also, you got to give credit to Klein Kane. Again, this thing was about to get out of hand, and they rallied late to make it just a 10-point deficit. An entertaining first half. There were 3 turnovers. Klein Kane threw an interception and fumbled twice. Their second fumble was recovered at their own 4-yard line. And so that's when they went down 24-0. They were able to intercept Jet Lewis 1 time. So the turnover battle 3-1 in favor of Bridgeland, as you guys know, and closely fought, close matchups, turnovers, and special teams usually win the day.
So you talk about the 1 interception for Jet Lewis. Other than that, how has the quarterback looked for the Bears?
He's looked good. He's got 2 touchdown passes, a nifty one to Oscar Nana, who made the defender fall down, a little crossover move. Made Marcus Coleman fall down as a 58-yard catch and run for Oscar Nana. And then a nice little 3rd and goal. They brought what's essentially the flanker H-back all the way across the formation, faked a jet sweep action, and Hudson Pollard was wide open and rumbled into that north end zone for Jet Lewis's 2nd touchdown pass. He hasn't done much with his legs. The run game has looked pretty good, better for Bridgeland than for Klein Kane. Noah Allen Cuellar has found good success in between the tackles. And again, a bit of a balanced approach for the Bears, which is what we expected to see coming into the ballgame.
All right, Chris, again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see if Klein Kane found that momentum to carry that into the second half. But again, Chris, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your halftime break. Should be a fun second half, again, if Klein Kane can keep that momentum going from that 14-point rally toward the end.
No, 100%. I love that he mentioned, Jet Lewis. Aside from the pick, right, I think he is playing a clean game. And this was going to be a quarterback battle. One of the better ones. We talked about one of the other ones in the Barbers Hill game. But this one, Isaiah Mooring, like he mentioned, dual threat guy, 2,100 yards passing, almost just over, maybe just below 500 yards on the ground. And Jet Lewis, 1,800 yards passing, 21 touchdowns to 9 picks. So he has turned the ball over, but they kind of live with that, right? When they kind of, have a defense that can really get off to a really good start like they did against Klein Kane. I'm wondering if the coaching staff saw something, as we're seeing here with Jet Jet Lewis. I wonder if the coaching staff maybe saw something they can adjust against that Klein Kane offense to maybe shut that down. But as you're seeing here with Jet Lewis, 2,200 yards on the year, for his career, 1,800 yards this year specifically, quarterback rating of 109. This is a guy who had a lot to live up to, right? This Connor Wigman, Bridgeland's not an old school, right? And so when you put a Connor Wigman in college, all of a sudden it's like, okay, so every quarterback's going to be like that, right? Every quarterback's going to be doing Connor Wigman things. Like, no, not really. Like, sometimes you just have a really good quarterback who may not be the 5-star, but in his own right is still a really reliable guy, and that's what Jet Lewis is for this year's team.
So talking about that game, and even in the other game that we just talked about, looking at Denton Ryan and Lake Belton, these are a couple of really top teams that bitten by the turnover bug in the first half.
Sure.
So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, looking at the season comparison and these two offenses,
a little bit of an opposite
they put
here.
up the numbers.
I was about to say, they put up numbers in their own different ways. And of course, we mentioned Bridgeland. They kind of like to air it out. They have a reliable running game with Kendall Burns. But of course, Klein Kane, of course, lives on the ground. Isaiah Mooring is an established runner. Of course, Darius Rogers over 1,200 yards on the ground as well. Blaine Bullard is somebody through the air. I believe he's over 1,000 yards now on receiving. But two different offenses, two very successful offenses and prolific, but in their own different ways.
Again, so we'll see if the Klein Kane maybe found a little bit of a spark going into the second half, down by 10 going into the third quarter. We got some more highlights rolling in, though, as again, just a favorite part of the year here across the Lone Star State, first week of the playoffs. But we'll take a look now. Flower Mound Marcus taking on McKinney as we go into the first quarter. It's a 3-0 McKinney lead. And how about Xavier Flimshay getting the jet sweep, getting around the defense for the touchdown as they get on the board there in the first quarter. So again, this is a fun game back and forth. McKinney up 10-0 early though, as this is going to be an opportunity for Peyton White to get the option going, as again, he's going that way. The option quarterback keeper, Peyton White, turning on the Jets, and no one's going to get to him as Marcus gets on the board. A big keeper there by the quarterback, getting on the board for Marcus. That was, again, Peyton White on the quarterback keeper. 10-7, still in the first quarter, and this is going to be Jeremiah Dowd throwing a dime, and we'll see as he gets the protection and just putting it perfectly right where the receiver can grab it just over the head of the defender, and a big-time response by the Lions in the first quarter. Going into the second, it's a 17-7 score, and it's going to be Jeremiah again. This is going to be, again, just showing off the arm strength these next two plays as he throws it downfield, and again, beating the cameraman can't keep up with it. Was caught right there in the end zone as the McKinney Lions rolling in that first half over Marcus.
Back down to the Houston area, let's go to Conroe and Spring Westfield. We're going to start off with a Jermaico Green touchdown for Westfield to put them up, right here we're going to start off with, to put Conroe up, This is going to be a jet sweep from Westfield to Elijah Harris to get around the defense. Look at that weight, a little bit of a move to get to the edge. Right there, immediately ties it for the Mustangs. And we're going to get back to Westfield. This is going to be Raekwon Washington throwing it, handed off to Rashad Dickinson, and he makes a tough catch in coverage in the corner. All of a sudden, the Mustangs lead, but Conroe's not going away. It's going to be Jermaico Green again. He's going to keep it himself on the power run, right through the middle, fights for it. He's going to stretch across the end zone, to tie this one up at 14. And this is going to be Taji Atkins for the Mustangs at running back. He's going to get it around the edge. Look at that. Oh, sheds off a tackler. Follows his blocker. Look at 71 holding the block there firm. And he's going to regain the lead for the Mustangs heading into the break. Spring Westfield holding on to a one-score lead.
Wow, we're seeing a couple of lopsided scores, but a lot more really close scores there in the first half. And, of course, we're just getting underway here in the first round of the playoffs. We're going to catch our breath here for just a moment as you're watching week number 12 of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man, and including private schools. Head to texasfootball.com, go to the awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A and private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
Welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight as we take a look at some of the 1A Division I scores. And again, we got a couple of close games and then a couple of not so close games.
Happy and Follett there, 1-score game, and then of course Erie and County in May. Might as well be a 1-score game. Again, I'll mention, it actually is a 1-score game. I thought I read that score wrong. So again, in 6-man, those scores can flip literally on the flip of a dime. So yeah.
All right, so there's a couple of low scoring, and there's even one that's scoreless in that one.
Yeah.
And we've got Trevor Bullard on the call right now in Dickinson, Texas, and it looks like that game is a defensive struggles of defensive struggles. Last I saw was 6-0 Dickinson. But Trevor, again, thank you so much for joining us. And it looks like if you love defense, you're loving that game right now.
Yeah, I would say so. It's still 6-0. Pearland almost got a Hail Mary at the end of the half. That was kind of cool. But yeah, both defenses showing out. They've each forced 2 turnovers apiece. Yeah, so if you love defense, this is your game.
As far as the offense in this one, which one has seemingly had the little bit of breakthroughs here and there? You mentioned the turnovers, so I'm assuming some drives were obviously cut short. Which one kind of had the more promising drives that were just kind of ruined by turnovers?
I'd kind of say Pearland's kind of been the better offense tonight. Their one drive that they got inside the 25, they missed the field goal. Dickinson scored, but they only had to go 32 yards, so they had a really short field to work with. Yeah.
So I wonder, okay, so for me, I look at this Pearland team, and like you mentioned, the offense there has been a little bit better. Is it just like, are you just kind of waiting? Because I feel like they have the better playmakers, at least on paper, than Dickinson. Or is it just feel like you're just kind of waiting for guys like LaDamian McDowell and Cole Markowski to kind of just like get going a little bit?
Yeah, you mentioned McDowell. He's kind of the guy I'm really looking at. He's got 30 total touchdowns on the year. He's had a couple nice runs, but nothing really game-breaking. And it's kind of like, all right, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it didn't happen in that first half. Now they are going to get the ball to start the second half. So kind of big drive for Pearland.
And with Dickinson, at least last question for me, their only loss in the year is Humboldt Atascocita. So it's been, I'd say they have good wins. They beat Ridgepoint, Clear Falls, Clear Springs, Clear Creek. But that one loss, against the top rank, or not the top rank, but one of the state ranked teams, is this, it's hard for me to say prove it because it's by district, right? Everything's a prove it, obviously. But is this like a performance where you could really, really look for them to kind of make some noise? It's kind of a unsung kind of 9-win team. They're one of the more quiet 9-win teams in the state, I feel like.
Well, I think, it is kind of a prove it win because, they have good wins. Bridgepoint, that's a good win. Only has 2 losses on the year, but they're only tough games at Atascocita. They might get a chance to play them next week. Don't know the score of that Doby game right now, but you'd probably think Atascocita would take care of Doby. So, if you get a win tonight, you can really you can redeem that win and get your revenge.
And then lastly, talking about the Pearland offense actually looking a little bit better, do you expect to see the quarterback, John Solomon, for the Gators to start finding his rhythm, because he's had a phenomenal season, but sounds like so far in that first half, not much going on for the quarterback.
Well, they haven't even they've been going with Solomon running the ball. It's mainly been they've been switching 2 backs out with Lorenzo Aguirre and Joshua Arthur. Aguirre had the touchdown pass, but they both kind of struggled. Solomon's kind of more of a bell cow. He's really done really well on the ground this year since they moved him to the running back position. But I mean, someone's got to really step up for the quarterback wise.
All right, Trevor Bullard, again, thank you so much for taking part of your halftime break to talk with us. We'll see if maybe the offenses get a little bit going there in the second half. You would expect someone to start running away with it on offense.
Yeah, I was about to say, these are 2 gifted offenses. I mentioned Cole Murkowski. I mean, again, they're not the most prolific, but like he has 1,800 yards. I believe John Solomon has about maybe the same, but he is more of a rushing threat. So, yeah, we kind of expect one of them to break through.
Yeah, we'll see how that, if that goes. But taking a look now at some of the other scores, again, Tomball and Cy Falls, we got a punt going there, but that's stayed pretty close. Salina kind of running away with things. We saw they were up 21-0. Paris had the kick return for the touchdown. That's been their only score, but Salina responding with another touchdown of their own to go up 28-7.
Yeah, it looks like they had can't tell if that's Pearland. Looks like that was Pearland that tried to break off a little bit of a run there at the bottom left. But yeah, like you said, I mean, 6-0. I also wonder, like, when it gets to the playoffs, like some coaches empty out the playbook, right? But some coaches are also like close to the chest, don't lose, type of thing. So I'm very fascinated to see if we start to see some teams, especially teams that are struggling to move the ball, open up things a little bit, trying different designs, trying things that maybe, and we tried that in week 2, it didn't really work out, but let's bring it back up. So I don't know. That's kind of where, I mean, obviously the playoffs is where you try anything to kind of get it to work. As we see, looks like we shifted over to McKinney North and Barbers Hill there at the bottom.
That's been a close one again. We were talking about the quarterback matchup for that game, and it looks like no offense really explosive there in the first half, but I mean a 3-point game, kind of what we'd expected with 2 really good teams.
Yep, and then it looks like the Cy Falls and Tomball there. Yeah, Tomball. I was about to say I couldn't really see right there. Tomball, they're taking the place. Look like Tomball leading.
Long field.
Yeah,
long field to work with on that drive.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like you said, Salina really taking care of business so far against Paris. Again, a physical Paris team that this is not the style that they're used to playing, right? 28-7, we mentioned that kickoff return kind of came at a much needed time, but giving up another touchdown to go back down 3 scores is definitely not what they needed, because all of a sudden they're going to be asking, their quarterback to throw probably a little bit more than he's probably used to.
And you touched on it just a second ago, but I know you spend a lot of time with coaches around the Lone Star State and talk about just adding so many different wrinkles now in the postseason. You talk about, keeping things from maybe something that didn't work, like you said in week 2. Let's try that now. I mean, it's just so fascinating, just what a different animal when it comes to postseason football in terms of the coaching staff and what they're wanting to try.
Oh, sure, and it also depends on how you ended the season, right? So like a team like Salina, they lost to Panther Creek last week, and all of a sudden the offense struggled, and so it was like, okay, do we need to change anything, right? Or was that just Panther Creek being really good, which they are? Was it just like a one-off, or is it like, okay, did something get figured out on our offense? Obviously, it looks like things are pretty fine with Knox Porter and Logan Gutierrez and that offense, but it's certain things like that where you're like, how much do you take the last game of the regular season? For Paris as well. By the way, I think you'll like this. Trevin Hohenberg, I mentioned him. First of all, where's number 22, which I love as a quarterback. And then he also has glove swag, if you remember Kurt Warner.
Oh, okay,
He has the glove, so like it kind of shows. I think it gives the image more of a physical runner.
Yeah.
If he has 22 and then he wears the glove to throw the ball. So again, just kind of a nice visual there. I'm always a fan of quarterbacks wearing higher than 19.
Does that play any bit of an effect on the defense?
I'd be looking at it as like, is this guy a quarterback or a running back? In my opinion, I don't know. At least for me, that's where I'd look at it.
Oh, how about this one? We were talking a little bit earlier. Chris Elliott said it was a 14-point rally at the end of the half for Klein Kane. They get the ball to start the second half, and they marched right down the field, and all of a sudden, that's 21 unanswered for Klein Kane.
Yeah, how about this? It looks like, as we're seeing here.
And now Bridgeland trying to respond with
trying to really
big
come
response.
Back. Yeah, I mean, look, Jet Lewis already has that offense well past midfield now, but man, this is all of a sudden a script flip here for this game.
So that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, we've got, again, one of our other spotlight games as we have Cy Springs, the Panthers taking on the Wildcats from Tomball Memorial, and we got J.T. Barrett and James Kolowaski on the call. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and it looks like that's been a very exciting opening half in that contest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that I can definitely say here about this game is that I think there will be more fireworks. Cy Springs, they definitely had momentum early on into the game. Tomball Memorial took it back kind of later in the game and also took the lead. A missed PAT, that will be very crucial, I believe, kind of coming down the stretch here in this contest.
Talking about, I know Cy Springs down one score so far, but how has Harrison Mass looked in that first half, just trying to lead that offense there in the opening first couple of quarters?
Electric. In one word, electric. I mean, every time I kind of hold my breath when I see him keep the ball on a QB read, and he's been great in the quarterback read game. He's got some receivers that getting some separation. He's putting the ball, on the money. So it's been a very impressive first half for Harrison, that's for sure.
This is a Tomball Memorial defense that's kind of struggled a little bit to end the season. I believe they started the year really strong, but then kind of tailed off towards the end. Obviously they've given up 14 right now at the half. What are you seeing from them so far in this one? Enough, or are you seeing a little bit of those wrinkles kind of starting to show again?
Yeah, I would say Coach kind of alluded to this earlier in the game. In the first part of the game, they were playing some man defense, and they weren't as sharp as they were in the second half. They kind of switched over to a little bit more of a zone, and that's allowed them to really kind of stop that Cy Springs offense.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, they came out playing very aggressively in man-to-man. There's some really good receivers. You got the Richardson twins at Cy Springs getting a lot of separation. I think it's really helped slow the tide, for that Tomball Memorial defense by switching a little more of a zone look. And I think it's helping. We'll see if they continue it in the second half.
And then lastly for me, how's the offensive line for Tomball Memorial held up? Because I know guys like Ryan Lynch for Cy Springs has over 10 sacks this year, I believe 11.5. How's they held up in the pass rush?
You said it, Ishmael. Ryan Lynch, that was a name I told JT, You better memorize that name. He stands out. He pops off the field. I mean, I can see it clear as day. He's a special player. To answer your question, though, I would give passing marks to the Tomball Memorial offensive line. They've really done really well in pass protection, especially. The running game has been solid. It's been kind of picking up as the game's worn on. So, yes, Ryan Lynch, one of the best players on the field, along with Ashton Ansley, the big Tomball Memorial wide receiver. He is every bit as good as advertised. But I think pretty good job by the Tomball Memorial O-line.
All right, J.T. Barrett, James Kolowaski, again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get right back into the action. Looks like that should be a very fun second half. But again, it's interesting to see the offenses, or at least for Cy Springs, being held to only 14 points. That's an explosive offense.
Yeah, I'm glad they mentioned Ryan Lynch because, again, 11.5 sacks. This guy's insane, right? Yeah. And so the fact that seems like Tomball Memorial is doing a pretty good job of protecting Aiden Martin right now. Again, we'll see, right? Because it's 21-14 is not like an out of hand score, right? So it's kind of within grasp. As you're seeing here, Tomball Memorial very much a balanced offense, leaning more run, but of course Aiden Martin can contribute through the air as well. I believe over 2,000 yards passing right now. Travion Green, Isaiah Nelson, both combined for over 1,200 yards on the ground, I believe. But they mentioned Ashton Ansley as well, over 400 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns. He might be over 500 now. So yeah, this is a very, very interesting Tomball Memorial team as we look at Cy Springs now on their team stats for the year. So as we see, a little bit, again, not prolific yards-wise, right, but efficient. You mentioned Harrison Mass, 1,200 yards through the air, just over, I believe, just under 300 yards on the ground. Timothy Saunders, 400 yards on the ground. Rashad Richardson, 400 yards on the ground. Again, very efficient, and again, 140 through the air, 140 on the ground. You wouldn't expect to see 32 points per game out of that, but that just shows how effective they are in getting those big plays.
Yeah, it sounds like Harrison Mass doing it mainly on the ground tonight in that first half for the Cy Springs quarterback. So again, we'll be very eager to see how that second half plays out. Again, they were talking missed extra point there for Tomball Memorial. Never know. One play
Never
could
know,
decide it, especially in the postseason. Could be very interesting. We got another close game going on right around here in the DFW area. Frisco Wakeland taking on Mansfield Timberview. So we take a look at some of the highlights of that first half so far. And their opening round matchup is Wakeland and Timberview going. This is going to be a handoff to Tyler Madison as he breaks a tackle and takes it the distance to the house, and a big touchdown that time to get Timberview on the board first, sticking in the first quarter. This is going to be Brennan Meyer throwing a deep pass. Oh, what a catch right there, extending the arms. Looked like almost a fingertip grab that time by Donovan Woolen. He reaches out and then makes the rest of the takes it down the rest of the field for the touchdown. So a big response for Frisco Wakeland. Now they march down the field looking for another opportunity. Meyer again. Well, it's the Meyer to Woolen connection for the second time, and that is a 14-10 lead for Wakeland.
Cy Ranch and Klein Collins. We're going to start here with Cy Ranch quarterback, Klein Collins quarterback Tucker Parks eludes the tackler, finds Jeremiah Hutching to give Klein Collins the first lead of the game on the first points on the board. Let's go here to the second quarter now. It's going to be Klein Collins again. Tucker Parks, he's behind center. He's going to give it a little bit of a pitch right there to Gerard Penwright. Look at that. All of his blockers, gets to the edge. 17-yard touchdown. All Klein Collins so far. And after defensive stop we're going to see here, as we're seeing here, them coming on for the extra point there. Look at this, the Klein Collins special teams making a huge play with a block, and that's going to be JoJo Stard. Look at that, getting in on the in the action. Not every day you get to make a touchdown, and if you're not a returner on special teams, so he's going to probably enjoy that one. 21-0 Klein Collins now. My goodness, all Collins, and it's going to be Tucker Parks again behind center. This one's going to be a handoff to Randall Jackson right up the middle, muscles his way, plows through the defense. 28-0 after that 14-yard run for Klein Collins. And of course, we're going to finish it off with, you know what? Here's some more Klein Collins. Here's another one for you, as LeBron used to say. Tucker Parks behind center. He's going to throw a dime here. Look at this great throw, almost over the back, almost back shoulder to Elijah Boone. 35-0 at the half. Klein Collins all over Cy Ranch now.
All right, taking a look again, we were so excited for this matchup, Barbers Hill and McKinney North, and it looks like Barbers Hill adding to their lead in the third quarter as they'll make it a two-score game, an electric run inside the 10, and that's a big score for Barbers Hill.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're watching this and you see this and say, man, that sounds like a good game. Look, we're not going to be here the whole night. Right, we're not going to keep it here. We're going to be jumping around. So if you want to go check out this game, and I'm going to say you're going to want to, because these are not the last points we're going to see. TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Texan Live. If you want to subscribe and watch this in full, watch it tomorrow, watch it back, because these two teams are going to be going at it. Colin Hitchcock, Cody Fuentes, learn the names.
And if they haven't subscribed already, I don't know why they wouldn't have through the first 11 weeks of the regular season. Now is the time here in the first week of the playoffs. That one is a fun game. There's another game, one of our spotlight games. A little bit lopsided as we take a look. Salina and Paris. It's a big lead for Salina at the half as we are joined by James Tritley and Alex Weister now again joining us. And it looks like the running attack for Salina has really, I guess, helped Salina run away with things in that opening half.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way you could say it. The run game has really been proving to be the ultimate successor so far for Salina. If you want to highlight Paris, they only have 7 points on the board, but it's really been their defense that stepped up. And if they're able to find an offensive weapon, I mean, this could be a closer game, but Salina has just been doing it better on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it looks like for me, Salina, of course, they had a close loss last week in their first loss of the season, I believe, to Frisco Panther Creek. Does it look like they just shook that off and said that's a 1 week thing? Like Panther Creek's really good, first of all, but also that's a 1 week thing and they're just kind of on to the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. Salina, we knew this offense was good. The scoring differential for them this season is 525 to 205. They are just running away with some of these games. And, of course, it's with the rushing attack. They have two over 1,100-yard rushers, both of them with over 15 touchdowns on the season. They rely 100% on this rushing game, and it's just amazing. Both of the running backs have been stellar so far in this game.
Paris, I mean, for me, this was a game that couldn't get out of hand with guys. Trevor Hohenberger's a good quarterback, but they run a specific style of offense that really isn't prolific, right? And so, are you going to unfortunately kind of see them have to get out of their game plan and maybe it plays into Salina's hand defensively a little bit?
Absolutely. One thing that we've seen is when he targets Dicurry and Douglas, it always seems to be a positive, whether it's the completion or it's a penalty. I mean, we saw him catch a ball off the back of the defender. He is truly a weapon. They're going to have to look to get included a little bit more in this game because he's getting open. When they send him on these go routes, he's getting past the defenders, and they're going to have to try and rely on him a little bit more, as well as try and find something with this ground game because Salina's defense has been stifling so far.
Yeah, talking about the rushing attack, that's a two-headed rushing attack of Harrison Williams and Logan Gutierrez, both over 100 yards in the first half. Is it just a combination of the offensive line and then explosive elusiveness, or what have you seen makes that two-headed running attack just so lethal?
Nick, I think you hit it right on the head when you talked about it. I mean, it's just been a combination of Salina just being so well offensively. Their line has been so good. The two-headed monster with their running backs with Gutierrez and Williams have just been getting it done. That first quarter, we saw Gutierrez was kind of their main back. He got his second touchdown in the second quarter. It's going to be deadly going forward to see how far Salina is. They're a perennial team that could easily be a regional final champion, and this team is going to be very, very deep going forward.
I'm sure any teams in their potential path not looking forward to trying to find a way to slow down that running attack. But again, lots of time left to be played there in that second half, but impressive showing by Salina. Again, a big thank you to James Tritley and Alex Weister for joining us. Weister, I beg your pardon. And again, Salina 28-7 over Paris, and it's been mainly the running game in that one for Salina.
Yeah, I do love that they mentioned how Salina just shook off that loss to Panther Creek. Because again, it's not easy to take your first loss in the last game of the season and all of a sudden just you know what, we're on. It's like that Bill Belichick press conference. We're on to Cincinnati, right? It's just just on to Paris, and as they're seeing now, they're taking care of business.
Yeah, so again, there's been a couple of lopsided scores, but it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, Salina, but both running backs over 100 yards in the first half of that game in a playoff game.
Yeah, I was about to say that's impressive. Like you mentioned, it's going to be a team that not many teams are going to want to run into in the playoffs, especially now that they're getting going like this on the ground. Man.
Yeah, so that's been very interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. But, once you get to the playoffs, of course, there's so many different storylines to kind of keep an eye on. And just one of the things that make a postseason run all that much better, I guess, is when you have a player or two really putting their team on their back. And Rangers fans, hey, we just saw that. Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia. Breakout players add so much more of suspense and drama to the postseason. And for this week's edition of the Croutin Corner, Greg Powers has his top 10 candidates for a postseason breakout player, as we'll take a look at that. Now take it away, Greg Powers.
Welcome into this week's Croutin Corner, where we're taking a closer look at some breakout candidates in the Texas high school football playoffs. And none of these teams are going to have a shot to win a championship if they don't get solid contributions to some of the stars on their teams. And I'm going to start with number one. That's running back Joseph Dodds at Tidehaven. He's a Baylor commit, 6 foot, 200 pounds, has a chance to completely take over the 3A D2 bracket with his powerful running style, but don't go to sleep on his speed because he's an 11-second, 100-meter guy. So he not only has the ability to run over defenders, he has the ability to run by defenders. And I think by the end of the playoffs, a lot of people are going to be talking about Joseph Dodds out at Tidehaven. Number two is going to be running back. Calling him a running back, he's also an athlete at Timpson, and that's 2025 athlete J.J. Garner. Everybody's heard the name Terry Bussey. He's a 5-star committed to Texas A&M. But if Timpson wants to make a real run at AT&T Stadium, they're going to have to ride the coattails of J.J. Garner, who's had a tremendous 2023 season. He starred on both sides of the ball. He's racked up over 2,000 yards of offense. He's a game-changing type of guy on the defensive side of the ball. Where he plays on both sides there at Timpson like a lot of players do. J.J. Garner is an electrifying athlete. Down at number 3, you're going to see wide receiver Dalen McCutcheon. Lovejoy is entering the playoffs fresh off of a district clinching win over Melissa, and Dalen McCutcheon is a 4-star wide receiver who's got almost 30 scholarship offers. He's got all the big dogs in the hunt already. He's a tremendous pass catcher who understands the route tree. He knows how to get open. He gets tremendous separation. Parker Livingston, a Texas commit in the class of 2024, went down with an injury early in the year, and Dalen McCutcheon was passed the torch, and he didn't look back. He's a guy who's racked up nearly 1,000 yards and has 13 touchdown receptions heading into week 1 of the 5A D1 Texas High School football playoffs. QB Adam Schobel at Columbus. Another Baylor commit on this list. He's a 2025 quarterback with a huge arm and NFL upside. He's the son of Columbus head coach Matt Schobel, and he has already garnered 3 years of varsity experience on that team. He's one of the most seasoned vets, despite the fact that he's only a junior in the entire Texas high school football playoffs, regardless of classification. Adam Schobel has had his team just week after week pummeling their opponents. They haven't really played a close game all year. That Hitchcock game was probably the closest game they played, but they still scored 52 points in that game, was able to run away with it there at the end. Columbus is a favorite for that 3A D1 championship this season, and Adam Schobel's a big reason why. Number 5, wide receiver Dalen Singleton. 4-star committed to SMU. He is now the bell cow of the DeSoto offense. Jonte Cook is at Texas making plays, and they had to find a receiver this year that they could lean on. Who could DJ Bailey trust? Who is going to be that big-time playmaker that can lead them to back-to-back 6A D2 state championships? Well, the answer to that question is Dalen Singleton. He's a guy who can take the top off of the defense and beat you deep any play. He gets tremendous separation, and he's a threat to run after the catch. So if you're looking at some breakout candidates, some guys who you might know their name by the end of this playoffs, these are the guys who I'm keeping a close eye on, and I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. Back to y'all at the desk.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man and including private schools. Head to texasfootball.com, go to the awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A and private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
All right, we're back at the green screen here. We got a couple more brackets, 4A, 5A, and 6A, divisions 1 and 2. Let's start off here in 4A D2. Look, starting right here, I'm going to go Monahans, and we're just going to go through the favorites right now, okay? I'm going Monahans, but please do not sleep on West Plains as well in this region. I think this is going to be a very fascinating circumstance. I like Monahans because I like new blood coming out of here. All right, look, let's get to the boring part, Carthage. They're the favorite to win here. They're the favorite to go here. They're the favorite to win it. That's what happens. If they do lose, which we'll see, it won't be when they get here. It'll be somewhere in here because that's when Scott's against AT&T, he's unbeaten. It's what happens. He has a better record than the Cowboys there. You can probably count on him more than you can the team that's supposed to be the home team there. So let's go with Region 3 now. Look, I think at the beginning of the year, everybody would have had Silsbee. I have Silsbee. I still have Silsbee. Last year, it was Cuero, right? Of course, controversial ending to that one, but I think Silsbee, a little bit of a shaky game against Sealy yesterday, right? So they beat Sealy already in their bi-district game. But of course, we'll see, right? If Draylon Miller isn't doing superhuman things and Ashton Cartwright can't be his Robin a little bit, what happens to that Silsbee team? I'm wondering defensively what happens. Can Cuero catch them off guard? Can Jasper catch them off guard? I don't know. There's teams to watch. Also, Hampshire Finette as well is in there. That was one team that I want to mention as well. But let's go down here to Region 4, and they played yesterday. They've been very impressive all year. I do wonder a little bit about their strength of schedule. Wimberley, Cody Stover is one of the best playmakers in the classification. Of course, they are, I don't know if we even have a other ranked team in Region 4, so they are by far the favorites to come out of here. Of course, there's always a clash with Geronimo Navarro seemingly on the horizon for this region, but right now I would definitely pencil in Wimberley as the odds-on favorite to come out of this region. So let's move on now to 4A D1. Starting up here, I would love for Brownwood to make a state semifinal because the storied program, Coach Sammy Burnett's done an incredible job of reestablishing that pedigree that they have there. But please don't sleep on Decatur. Decatur's right there. Decatur is having a fantastic season. They're going to potentially meet up. They wouldn't meet up, I believe, until a regional final. So that'd be a fantastic regional final. I personally would love to see Gordon Wood Stadium. I know they probably wouldn't play at home, but you get the idea. I would love to see Brownwood kind of going crazy and back behind their Lions. Let's go on to Region 2 now. Look, at the beginning of the year, you would have probably had, where are they? China Springs somewhere on there. China Springs somewhere on there. But Stephenville beat China Spring pretty convincingly, probably bigger than the score kind of left. And so I would pencil in Stephenville as the odds-on favorite right now. But with that being said, Frisco Panther Creek, Anna, I mentioned China Spring, Sulphur Springs, Stephenville is the odds-on favorite, but this one's probably, in my opinion, the most competitive just by how many potential state contenders you have in here. All right, flipping over to Region 3. This is where my state favorite comes in. I think it's Kilgore's to lose. I think this whole bracket is Kilgore's to lose. They had, in my opinion, the team that was probably one of the favorites, Chapel Hill, put them to bed. Nothing. That was not a contest. They probably gave Carthage the best run anybody's going to get against Carthage, probably including the playoffs. We'll see. But I would put Kilgore right there. They are probably the most physical team pound for pound in the state, aside from maybe Carthage right now. So put them there. Of course, if Chapel Hill turns it on at the right time, as we know, Ricky Stewart and Demetrius Brisbane, they can get going. Bay City's another team to watch as well with Carlon Jones and that defense. Very fascinated by them. Region 4. Bernie got there last year. I probably pencil Bernie in. They lost quite a bit of senior leadership on that team. Guys like Sam Waters, guys like Braden Bays at wide receiver. I believe Jackson Bays' brother is at quarterback, and I believe they have Braden Bays, the defensive lineman, on the other side leading that side. So they have guys there, but that senior leadership was so valuable to them that it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if they maybe were upset a little bit. Cal Allen's always there, right? Of course, it's that region where Cal Allen kind of lurks there, but I would pencil in Bernie to make it back to the regional final and get another shot at AT&T. All right, moving on to 5A D2. All right, so we have teams like Frisco Emerson, right, with Michael Hawkins. They won last night. Argyle as well. You can't talk state without talking Argyle, even by quote-unquote down years. This has been a perfectly good year for them. But I'm going to go Colleyville Heritage coming out of here. I think I really, really love what Colleyville Heritage is doing. But I mentioned two other teams to maybe keep an eye out for. Looking down in Region 2, look, South Oak Cliff. It feels like we've gone a little bit too long. Similar script to last year. They get blown out by DeSoto. They get blown out by Duncanville. South Oak Cliff, write them off. I'm not until they give me a reason to write them off. And they haven't yet. This could be a year where they stumble through and the offense finds its groove like last year. I think the offense is better than last year. It didn't get going really until the playoffs. So give me South Oak Cliff coming out of this region just until they don't, basically. All right, let's go over to Region 3. And this one was a little bit of a reach for me, I'll admit. I picked Fort Bend Marshall. This is a young Fort Bend Marshall team that's going to potentially have next year and then the year after to really maybe show some stuff. Port Neches Groves, of course, they probably had that state title game won until South Oak Cliff really turned it on and really kicked things into gear. So if you count me as disrespecting them, go for it. Texas City as well as somebody to watch out for. So I have Fort Bend Marshall, but that's not the odds-on favorite. Montgomery Lake Creek, of course, probably the highest ranked team if I'm not mistaken, coming out of there. Maybe this is the year for them. Who knows? We'll see. Now, let's have a little bit of fun. All right. By the way, I believe Step has Wichita Falls Rider in their last year as a school, as one of the sleeper teams to watch. All right. Let's have some fun here. So you look at Region 4, and I don't know about you, but I don't see a blue blood. This team's definitely the odds-on favorite, right? You can look at Alamo Heights, but I have questions about their strength of schedule. They haven't necessarily beaten the toughest teams. I kind of like San Antonio Piper, who will get, right, I believe in a regional semifinal potentially if both teams take care of business. I like San Antonio Piper coming out of this region. We'll see. Is this where maybe somebody like an Edinburgh Vela comes out? I don't know. Or not Edinburgh Vela, that's another one. But a Mission Vets maybe. I don't know, right? Is this the year that could happen? Maybe. This is a really weird year in 5A D2 as a whole. I think if you ask somebody their state title pick, they're probably not feeling too confident about it. I picked South Oak Cliff on this side because they've won it and they haven't given me a reason to say no. So that's 5A D2, probably the most chaotic bracket in my opinion. Let's go to 5A D1 now, and let's start off by talking about Aledo. All right, so kind of an elephant in the room. Hoss Haney, I believe, I don't know if he didn't finish the game or wasn't healthy, but even if Hoss Haney did not finish the game, if he's healthy, look, just do it. Just pencil him in right there. Pencil him in. Even if he's not healthy, probably pencil him in here. Maybe even here. Because that's what Aledo does. They don't need the fact that they've had Hoss Haney has felt like a cheat code, right? Aledo's not supposed to have the best offensive line, best defensive line, best skill position in the classification, and then a top quarterback, right? So if Hoss Haney's not healthy, I still kind of like them coming out of this region. But of course, we'll see, and we'll wait to see how that definitely plays out. Let's go to, by the way, if you want another team to watch, definitely just northwest, Tascosa as well, Red Oak. I like Red Oak a lot, actually. So potentially, we'll see. Going here to Region 2, look, this one looks like it's going to be Longview. I mean, Lancaster looks like they may be turning things around. Who knows there? I'm very fascinated. I'm going to go Longview, right? People talk about their early season loss to McKinney. There was a lot of mistakes in that game. So I'll put that to the back. Let's go to Region 3. Look, Coach Caduti and Fulsher, they took care of business last night. I'm going to pencil them in as the team to watch here. Smithson Valley may be somebody, but we'll see. Region 4, look, PSJ North. This is the year. This is the year it happens, either them or Vela. I'm sorry, Miller. I'm sorry, Corpus Christi Vets. This is the year it happens for the Valley. PSJ North, fly the flag. You'll be playing for a chance to go to AT&T, in my opinion. All right, moving on. 6A D2. Look, we've talked about Byron Nelson a lot. I believe they're taking care of business because I'm sitting next to somebody watching the score constantly. So I have them coming out of this region. Do not sleep on South Lake Carroll just because they lost already, right? Things can happen. Things can happen in the playoffs. But I have Trophy Club Byron Nelson coming out of here. DeSoto in Region 2. Spoiler alert, I would pick DeSoto if they went Division I as well. I think they may be the best team in the state, regardless of classification, and I have them coming out of Region 2. But of course, we'll see. Willis has the guy in DJ Lagway. Is that enough to get them over the hump? Maybe. Who knows? Summer Creek as well. Let's go over this side, actually. Summer Creek took care of business as well. But of course, you got teams like Katie Jordan, who has shown a little bit this year, right? But I would put Summer Creek right there as the top to come out of that region. Cibolo Steel in Region 4, that's my pick. But Step says to watch out for San Antonio Harlan as well, newer school on the block. I'm curious if Dripping Springs is going to be somebody to potentially watch. I don't know. I think Cibolo Steel has the best skill position and the best lines in this region, maybe even aside from DeSoto in the state. So we'll figure it out. All right, last classification, 6A D1, the big boys. All right, we've talked about Coach Gates' North Crowley team. I think they should be the favorites. I think Prosper is going to be a team to watch in this region, though. Give me Ray Gates and the North Crowley. I think they are playing Keller tonight. So give me them to come out of this region. Region 2, Look, spoiler alert, Duncanville's here. So Duncanville, there they are. Duncanville, I would probably pick them. They're my state champion. I think they're going to come out of this region. But as we talked about, maybe Allen starts to fix it. I don't know. I think Duncanville is just really unstoppable this year. They kind of figured out the offense this whole year. I mean, DeCorian Moore and those guys have been destroying teams. So I wouldn't bet it. Northshore, right? Maybe Cy-Fair, right? Maybe. Of course, Katy. You got, I believe you also have, is there a Atascocita? No, sorry, not Atascocita. Yes, Atascocita in there. That's what I thought. And yeah, and Shadow Creek. But it's North Shore. Every year it's been North Shore coming out of Houston area. So I'm going to go ahead and pencil them in as the safe bet here. And lastly, this one gets interesting because we mentioned Vandergrift, who was the D2 runner-ups last year. They went up to D1. Now, I believe they're actually losing at halftime right now to the other team I would have penciled in, Lake Travis. That is a crazy, crazy by-district matchup. I believe it was 7-3 at the half. I don't know the score right now. But that's the other team that I would pencil in to have against Vandergrift because Deuce Adams at quarterback has been a revelation for them on that side of the ball, in addition to a great defense that Drew Sanders has had. So we'll keep an eye on that score. I would pencil in the winner of this game as the favorite to come out of Region 4 as a whole, probably take on North Shore. Look, there's a gauntlet breakdown, bracket run, all that stuff. Let's go to break. We got some quad box. We got a bunch of games still going on. We got highlights, all that stuff. Stick it here. Texas football tonight.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man and including private schools. Head to texasfootball.com, go to the awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A in private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
All right, so I think we're back. I don't know, the countdown was a little off. But welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. We're looking at the scores now to a Division II as, again, a couple of close games as we're taking a look, though, but Sunray all over Wheeler. But there's a couple of good ones in Seymour and Celeste. That one's close.
Seymour and Celeste definitely looking close. Again, in by-district, this is not, especially in the smaller classifications, this isn't necessarily the norm to see a lot of close games in this one. These smaller classifications, usually the Blue Bloods are kind of taking care of business here.
Yeah, so a couple of close games for that one, but man, I tell you what, you were able to catch your breath quickly. I mean, you crushed it over there, taking a look at all the brackets, and I mean, it's just so much fun. I don't know how you have all that information. Well, I mean, I guess, you know, I've been working with you this entire season, so it makes sense because, I mean, you've got that football brain, but no, it's just so cool. Just going through all of that and seeing the football brain go to work. And how about this game? This has been fun. Tomball Memorial and Cy Springs. That's a close game there in the third.
Looks like an interception there. Swings that one back the other way. Man, that's like you said, that's a close one. So every single score, it feels like, my goodness, that looks like it could turn the tides anywhere. Trying to see that score that Dickinson won. I'm gonna look over to your screen.
7-6. Yeah. This is we got a big screen over
here.
here.
Giant screen right there. So Pearland looks like on top of Dickinson right now, 7-6.
And again, that was 6-0 Dickinson at the end of the first half, and now we're only about just under 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And still just a 7-6 game. But
looks like there was a flag on that. I don't know if it was on going back to the Cy Springs and Tomball Memorial. Looks like there's a flag. I don't know if it was on the return or before there. So I'm trying to figure out if this one's coming back, because if so, I mean, it's a massive play. If it was on before the throw, I should say, that led to the interception.
Back to Pearland and Dickinson for just a moment. We were talking to Trevor Bullard, and he was saying that in that first half, Pearland looked like the better offense. And they finally do get on the board there in the second half. But yeah, we'll see what the call is on this one.
Looks like a penalty decline, so I'm probably assuming it was on, holding on the offense. So it looks like that will stay. Yeah, okay, so seismic shift there potentially. My goodness, I mean, whew. Could have been a back-breaking penalty too if it was before the throw, or it was before the throw, but if it was on the defense.
Yeah, so it's just so cool. I mean, cool for us here on the desk, but for fans or coaches, players down the sideline, that one play like that can determine the outcome of your season. I'm sure it's probably not as cool for them down there, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. I'm not getting any gray hairs at the moment, and it sounds like one of our correspondents who is just having an absolute field day at his game. We got Matt Steppers. We're going to bring him in now. But what was the score? We got an update on the score. It was something like 58-34 in the first
he's at
half.
Idalou and Spearman right now. So, Step, if you could just, in your best terms, break down what?
Well, how much time do you have, Ish?
Look, we got like 45 minutes, so you're good.
This game is Panhandle and Tahoka. The first game, this is a doubleheader. The second game, a doubleheader here at Happy State Bank Stadium in Canyon. The afternoon game was Idalou taking down Spearman 34-0, and a very dominant performance from Idalou. So the Wildcats advanced to the second round of the playoffs. The game that's going on right now just went to halftime about 10 minutes ago. We over a 90-minute first half as the Panhandle Panthers lead Tahoka 58-34. That's right, 58-34. It's been just an insane game, back and forth. Not a lot of defense played, not a lot of great special teams. Panhandle's returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. It's been big play after big play. And Panhandle, towards the end of the second quarter, finally started to pull away. Sophomore quarterback Broxton Robinson for the Panhandle Panthers has 4 touchdown catches, a touchdown run, and just for grins, he returned a kickoff 88 yards for a touchdown. It's just been crazy.
My God. All right, so I know you're somebody who likes, there's some people who love the offensive explosion and all that, but you're somebody who loves a little bit of balance in your games, right? So,
I do.
Has it been a little bit of a pain to see like, oh, here comes another long touchdown? Or is it just like, are you just embracing the excitement of it all?
At first I was more like, let's get a little defense here, but now I'm just like, go with it. Let's just cut the brakes and just go with it, and let's just see how crazy this thing can get up here in the Panhandle tonight. It's been a wild one, and the thing is Panhandle, they've scored 58 points. They got to leave their starters in there because Tahoka, who is a huge underdog, is kind of hanging around in this thing and making a game of it. So the numbers could be quite eye-popping when the box scores are all said and done, as our friend Hart Fasani from the Amarillo Globe News is probably going to have to go through about 5 or 6 stat sheets tonight.
For him was definitely statting this one. So Tahoka snuck into the playoffs. The last game of the year, I believe, they beat Sundown, if I'm not mistaken. So what are you seeing from them to kind of, like you mentioned, hang with a Panhandle team that I think, one loss on the year?
Yeah, Panhandle's 9-1, and Tahoka, snuck in as a third place team, barely in their district. I think the key for Tahoka is they've been able to throw the ball really well tonight. They've spread the ball around to multiple receivers. They've hit a pop pass for a 65-yard touchdown on the very first play of the game. So that they've scouted Panhandle well and found some weaknesses in their defense, and they've been able to exploit it. I think Panhandle's defensive line is starting to assert themselves as the second half wore on, getting a little bit of pressure on Tahoka's quarterback, and that's kind of shifted the momentum after Tahoka had early. Panhandle's kind of seized control of things.
Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone has this knowledge, off the top of their head, but has anyone there in the press box, once this trend started going, has anyone looked up what is the most amount of combined points in a high school playoff game? Has anyone talked about that yet so far? Do you guys know?
2016, Levelland and Decatur is the highest scoring 11-man Texas high school football game score in history. I believe it was 158 points, if memory serves correctly. That Levelland team had a guy on their a quarterback named Nick Gerber, who I think set the state record for passing touchdowns his senior year. So Levelland Decatur in 2016 is the UIL 11-man record for most combined points in a football game.
That's awesome.
So I guess this game still has a little ways to go then, is what I'm hearing.
A little ways to go, but if we have another half like that, we'll be out of here at about 12:45.
All right.
We may have some records. So, you guys might be long gone from the UNT studios by then, but I'll be hanging in here in the Texas Panhandle, right here in Canyon, Texas. It's a little cold.
And then lastly, I saw your tweet earlier. Of course, I spent some time in Amarillo. I saw you got to the donut stop. Can I ask, did you get a couple of those cherry iced donuts? Those are the best.
So I'm not a cherry iced donut guy, but I go with the chocolate covered cinnamon roll. It's like 8,000 calories, but it's legit. So we're all good.
Well, there's no wrong option when you go to the donut stop. Well, Matt Stepp, I hope for your sake it is not as crazy as the second half, so he can get out of there at some point tonight.
Man.
That is absolutely insane. But man, I thought maybe that was going to be the highest scoring game. I guess it sounds like still got a way to go.
Shows how crazy the sport is, man.
Yeah.
This is everybody, the historians, they look at that game and it's like, that's fine. That's a normal game by history standards.
Wow.
But no, still crazy regardless, as we see Denton Ryan here really taking it to Lake Belton. Again, this is a really impressive performance so far from Ryan, because again, this is a team that I don't want to say we rode off, because like they're always good and they're always going to be in contention, but again, it looked like the shine was starting to wear off a little bit from the Raider program, and if they come out and just hammer Lake Belton in the first round, as we see here, look at this. How about this? Clear Springs taking a lead.
Wow.
Oh, man, okay.
And there in the fourth quarter, Cy Springs, a big response. Real quick, going back to Lake Belton real quick.
Yeah.
Micah Hudson, 9 receptions for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's been doing his thing. He's been doing everything he can.
Yeah, I wonder if Dave Hennigan was like anybody else.
Yeah.
Like he can get his, but nobody else does anything.
Yeah. But again, the big thing, there's 3 turnovers tonight for Lake Belton, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble loss. But yeah, this is a big score there for Cy Springs in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, this one's definitely.
And how about this one? It was 24-0 Bridgeland to start the game, and now tied at 35.
Man, this one's, looks like, is it Klein Kane now have the ball? Yeah, Klein Kane now has the ball. Man, oh my goodness. This is all of a sudden a huge swing here. As we see Isaiah Mooring, looked like he turned his back to, wide open throw. Oh my goodness. Oh, is this going to take the lead here?
He might.
He's
going to go all the way.
Goodness, he's going to get it. Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Look, listen, I did it for the Barbers Hill game. I'm going to do it for this one, too. If you want to watch that one in full, TexasFootball.com/subscribe or Texan Live and click on it. Playoffs, we cut the brakes at Texan Live. I should say they. I don't want to take credit. They cut the brakes at Texan Live, and they give you the best games they could possibly get. So this is the perfect time to subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah, it looked like that was Bullard Blaine, the wide receiver, who went the distance that time for Klein Kane. And we were talking with Chris Elliott at the halftime break. You know, he mentioned again, he talked about that 14-point rally at the end of the first half for Klein Kane, and they've been rolling ever since then. And now they have their first lead of the night after that big play. And
speaking of leads, this one's massive.
Salina, again, the two-headed running attack of Salina tonight, really the difference. Both running backs over 100 yards in that first half. As we take a look at the scoring updates now, 2A Division I, taking a look at a few of these. And again, a couple of really close games late into the night.
Yeah, Johnson City and Schulenburg, only a one-score game. Ozona and Cisco, of course, tied at 14. Stanford and Forson, of course, a one-score game as well. And then, of course, you got some of the blowouts with Shiner and Freer and Farwell, Olton. That's not a blowout. 3 scores in the playoffs. That's within reach still. De Leon and Nakona, of course, same score, 42-21.
Love me a little bit of Shiner, you know.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to 3A.
Team, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an impressive showing by the team. Yeah. Just want to get that out there before we had someone yelling in our ear. But yeah, 3A Division II, taking a look at a few of these now. And again, there's one real blowout, and everything else has been kept really close.
I mentioned Gilmer Harmony. They were our pick in the magazine, I believe, to make state. So they're really, really making us look pretty smart right now. But like you said, everything else kind of within reach. Lubbock Roosevelt, of course, up on Freona, it was big by two-ish scores. Comanche and Henrietta seems to be in a really, really interesting one there as well.
Yeah, so again, this always interesting to see how these scores play out in the opening round. Back to this is the true quad box now. We've had a good one between Pflugerville and Austin LBJ, a 14-0 game. That Austin LBJ defense keeping them off the board into the fourth quarter. And then, of course, Klein Kane taking their first lead over Bridgeland. And we were taking a look at the Tomball Memorial and Cy Springs game a little bit earlier. Cy Springs, again, with the lead there in the fourth quarter. And then how about Denton Ryan, 38-13 over Lake Belton. Again, we talked about Micah Hudson. He's got his tonight, close to 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns, but Mascarenas, a couple of interceptions have come back to hurt Lake Belton tonight. And we got a big play now for the Klein Kane defense to take a look at Bridgeland marching right back after the big score by Klein Kane just moments ago.
I was about to say defense. I don't say optional, but defense is only encouraged.
It's not like the game out in Canyon that Steph is watching right now, but it's getting a little close.
Yeah, as you can see, Jet Lewis, of course, able to navigate this offense all the way back near the red zone. Has to answer Isaiah Mooring, who, like you mentioned, who was that on the reception again? For Klein Kane, I couldn't.
Oh yeah, Klein Kane. That was over that big play. Let me pull that roster out over here, taking it behind the scenes. We had Blaine Bullard.
Blaine Bullard, yes. He was. I believe that may have put him over 1,000 yards. He had 956 heading into this game, and so that may put him over 1,000 if he wasn't already on the season. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they look to Oscar Nana right now. Their number one guy was 868, probably well over that now for Bridgeland. As we jump back over to Ryan. Look at that. Ryan has the ball already again after scoring a little bit ago. So they're looking just to salt this one away. 6 minutes to go. And, I guess this is also a little bit of time to talk a little bit about Micah Hudson's career a little bit. Because, it might be over. It might be done as a high school player. One of the most dynamic playmakers we'll probably ever see. And luckily, if he still sticks with his Tech commitment, we'll be able to see him for a couple more years as well. As we see Dickinson, look at this. A little tush-push action getting in to take the lead.
They were up 6-0 at the half. Pearland finally on the board there in the third quarter. And then it's, again, been a defensive struggle. And Dickinson, with 3 minutes to go, ramming their way into the end zone, and they take the lead back.
I couldn't tell. I believe that was John Solomon, but I couldn't because all I saw was the pile of bodies. So I presume it was John Solomon under center who they tush pushed into the end zone. So
Trevor was talking about that he was primarily used in the running game in that first half, and so 100%. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, right there on the goal line, just trying to shove them in.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of going back to, is this the last game we'll see for Micah Hudson, Lake Belton? What a career it's been. But
what a career for him.
But
and
it's just the start.
I was about to say, these are going to be guys, especially Micah Hudson. I don't want to forget Selman Bridges in there as well. As we take a look at John Solomon here, again, I mentioned he's a dual threat guy. I believe he has he's a rushing and dual threat guy, as you see, over 2,000 yards through the air for his career, 1,500 yards on the ground. He's their guy for them. Of course, they have Leonard Brown and Jeremiah Scobie as well at wide receiver, but it goes through John Solomon. As if Dickinson wants to come out in this one, those 6 points, they knew those 6 points weren't going to be enough.
I love the old school gator, too.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Great logo.
Yeah.
Great logo. We've got some great logos across the state of Texas, but the Gator's a good one. There's been a couple of surprises, and, we were looking forward to the Denton Ryan Lake Belton game, and, obviously no one writing off Denton Ryan. They had a couple of close games at the start, but that's a really impressive performance by their defense tonight.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it is. It was basically let him get his, right? And then everybody else, we're going to try to do our best to keep everybody else in check. So definitely an impressive showing from them.
Yeah, so again, that's been an interesting score. As we take a look now, we got some more highlights rolling in across the state of Texas. We'll take a look now for Chapel Hill, Little Cypress trying to get something going. This is going to be a fumble forced, a 14-0 Chapel Hill lead, but then a big fumble forced Little Cypress Morrisville forcing the fumble as they get an opportunity now. Looking for a little bit of trickery, and it's going to pay off Perhaps as it's caught there at the 15. I got a little too ahead of myself, but it does, it does pay off for LCM. That's a big one there in the third. Again, just trying to get something going. Little Cypress with an opportunity after that big play. And how about that, a little bit of the tush push? It works to perfection that time to get them on the board. 14-7 in the third. Now jumping a little bit ahead. 21-7. And this is a guy we talk about all the time, Demetrius Brisbane Jr. They'll call it his number. We've seen this all too many times. He goes 42 yards on the ground to the house to make it 28-7 Chapel Hill. And hey, let's not forget about the other playmaker they have, Ricky Stewart, number 4. It just makes it look easy. It's the handoff to the inside, and I don't think he was touched once. This is for 60 yards to the end zone, 35-7 Chapel Hill.
All right, let's go back to Atascocita and Doby. This is going to be Zion Brown. He's going to take it up and look at that fake pitch right through the teeth of the defense. He's not going to score, but he's going to get down to inside the 5. Very commanding lead for the Eagles here. He's going to take it. Look at this right here. It's going to be handoff. Oh, just kidding. Play action fake to the defensive lineman. Look at that, wide open. Of course he's going to line up and love his chance to get on the score sheet. 45-14 Atascocita here. And Doby just trying to get back in this one. As you see, defensive play here as we're seeing. Oh, look at the swarm. First of all, the helmet poke. And look, he knows he's going to score. Get on the board, man. Defensive touchdown. We got a defensive lineman catching a touchdown. We got a defensive touchdown. 45-14, of course, we mentioned at this point. But, all right, Zion Brown again. This one's going to be number 5. Look at this. Perfect screen blocking right there. All Atascocita. 52-14 on Doby. Taking care of business.
Hey, let's see the big man touchdown,
Oh,
right?
He's
showing off the
open.
hands.
I was about to say, it wasn't a clean catch. He was like, let me just make it look a little crazy now.
All right, back to this game, and Bridgeland knocking on the door with 5:50 to go. Looking to tie things up. They move inside the 5. It's been back and forth again. I mean, Bridgeland, they were up 24-0. They got off to a 24-0 start. Talking to Chris Elliott, and one of their scores was because Klein Kane fumbled it inside their own 15-yard line, and
like
right there the Bears do punch it in. So again, it was a lopsided start, but Klein Kane finding momentum toward the end of the first half, and then it's just turned into a shootout in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, credit to them because it's not easy to kind of go on that lead, and I don't want to say they hit cruise control, but you kind of get a confidence, and then all of a sudden to see that just like evaporate. You're like, oh, what's going on here? You know. But they're able to respond, and so credit to them for kind of hanging, for kind of letting, as you see, responding and retaking the lead.
Yeah, and we get a big score here from the quarterback, just scrambling away and sees a lot of open field, takes it in. This has been a close game, but Austin LBJ looked like another big score in that one. And this game has gotten a little out of control. We were talking about the two quarterbacks in this matchup, and Barbers Hill running away with it in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Barbers Hill. I mean, look, Cody Fuentes, we've talked about him as well. He's one of the, in my opinion, one of the, I don't want to say prolific's the wrong word, just like, he spreads the ball out so well, right? He gets everybody eats, basically, is kind of the sentiment when I watch the Barbers Hill offense, and Carl Apsek's done a really good job there of kind of bringing them into state contention a little bit.
The 3A Division I scores, Brock 59-0 over Iowa Park, and we saw a big emotional win for Iowa Park last week to get back into the postseason, and then Brock with a thumping tonight.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Brock started the year pretty slow, but they're kicking on at the right time. Of course, Palestine Eastwood looking really good as well, or holding a lead, I should say, over East Chambers. Diboll beating Buna by 28 there, and then Franklin, of course, mentioned. Now that Hitchcock's out in that region, Franklin becomes the odds-on, in my opinion, the odds-on favorite to come out of there in Region 3.
Just taking a look now, moving up to 4A Division 2, and we're taking a look at a few of these. Gilmer, Roland, Sweetwater, and Godley. That's been a very fun one, and Willis Point and Van Alstyne. That one's very close as well. So
Hampshire Finette's a team to watch out for as well in this region. Gilmer, or in their region, I should say. Gilmer, of course, in that region with Carthage. Unfortunately, they're going to have to run into most likely eventually, but they're taking care of business as well.
So yeah, it's we're getting the scores rolling in now from across Texas, every nook and cranny. As we're here in the first week of the postseason. It's exciting to see a couple of these, and Denton Ryan and Lake Belton. Again, perhaps the end of the high school career for Micah Hudson, but this guy we heard earlier in the year that not only is, we're looking forward to watching play on Saturdays, but they were even talking about this is a guy that we might be seeing on Sundays.
Oh, yeah, no, this is definitely the first of hopefully 10, 15 years of hearing his name, right? So we're only in the beginning, and we get to kind of see him kind of start anew next year, right? Kind of get to see him as a college athlete, kind of see what he can do. Again, hopefully, selfishly, I hope he stays in stays with Texas Tech, because of course we get to see him more often, we get to cover him. But of course, wherever he decides to play. By the way, cover of our recruiting magazine as well, the Rising cover. Micah Hudson, very nice, crisp white Lake Belton white jerseys with the gray helmets. Of course, says Lake on them.
Clean look.
So yeah, it's a very clean look. So he is our cover subject. So definitely a little biased if we want to keep covering him in the state, but it's whatever.
But looking at the other side, Denton Ryan, I mean, a very impressive showing for them tonight. Close to 330 yards on the ground. They've got a couple of guys over 100 yards rushing, and so that's really been a big part to holding that Lake Belton offense, is to just the ground and pound and keep that offense on the sideline on the other side.
Yep, looks like Paris here is trying to just get some points on the board. Just trying to put some more points on the board, I should say.
And talking about a ground and pound team, Salina, again, that score has been lopsided since the get-go, and that two-headed running attack has been phenomenal. And it's going to be tough for whoever lines up against Salina throughout this postseason, because that's going to be tough to try and bottle up a couple of those running backs.
Yep, as you see Trevin Hohenberger on the pitch there, just trying to get something in the end zone, close to a first down for Paris, just trying to get some consolation points, go out a lot better than they've looked this year.
Breaking 5, 6, 7 tackles on the play. I mean,
he just doesn't want to come down.
There's
no fight.
unlimited fight within this kid. I mean, we cannot speak highly enough. This is something out of a quarterback that I don't think I've really ever seen. This is truly something special.
Hohenberger will hand this one off. Houston yet again staying on his feet. He'll have the first down as we get this one down at about the 5. So it'll be a 1st and goal situation coming up. And I think it's the Houston and Hohenberger show and what they've been able to do on the ground so far. Really haven't seen Tadrick Dawson be the kind of a weapon that they expected him to use. Houston has really stepped up here in this second half.
And he's had a very similar running style to Hohenberger. He's really not going down without much of a fight.
Well, here we go. Be a keeper over here. Pitches it to Houston. Somehow will getting tackled. That was kind of best case scenario with that defense coming in, staying on his feet, and really just not losing anything.
I mean, the football IQ and the toughness in this kid is just incredible. I mean, he's getting tackled, and to be able to see his pitch man off to the side, get it to him, and get a couple of yards on the play, I mean, just relentless work ethic from this team right now.
Last year, Paris had a 2-8 record. They missed the playoffs. Now they're here in the by-district round. Ultimately, scores not in their favor, but a lot of talent. Hohenberger on 2nd and goal. Rolling out to his right, evading the pressure. Hit as he throws, end zone tipped up in the air, and it falls incomplete. A big hit late on Trevin Hohenberger, and he is slow to get up once again. I know some were kind of trying to signal for a flag, and there was a flag. It was kind of hidden by Hohenberger.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer.
That's exactly what we thought.
28. At the distance to the goal, automatic.
Cooper Farrow gets called for the roughing the passer. He laid the smack down on Hohenberger, and what a tough kid he is to be able to get up and continue. You talk about the unlimited fight in this kid, and we're seeing it here.
This is something very similar to what we saw out of TCU's Max Duggan last year.
Absolutely.
He was very clearly hurt, but he would not come out of the game and just kept on fighting for his team. And we're seeing it here with Hohenberger. He is just not giving up.
He's going to run this one in, stays on his feet. It's going to take multiple defenders to bring him down. And again, he gets hit, but it takes about 4 or 5 seconds to bring this guy down. And not just...
All right, welcome back to here in the studio. We got Barbers Hill and McKinney North. McKinney North trying to get something going here in the fourth quarter. They're threatening, and what a catch there in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, looks like they're going to rule it incomplete. I think they saying the ball may have hit the ground on his reception. That was decent placement from Colin Hitchcock, right? Only where his guy was either going to make a great catch or was going to fall incomplete. But like you mentioned, that was a great effort. Yeah, that was a close call, though. It looks like, as you see Colin Hitchcock here, 1,300 yards through his career, 9 touchdown passes. I mean, look, he's somebody, Jaden Walker as well, he complements the running back. Jaden Walker is over 1,000 yards for the year. So well, Cameron Powell's the number 1 receiver with 744 yards. I believe he's over 18 touchdowns this season to only 4 interceptions. So yeah, again, this is a really prolific offense that's kind of been held in check a little bit by Barbers Hill. I was kind of figuring that it'd be a shootout, but it turns out I think Barbers Hill's defense was able to kind of really hold these guys kind of in check a little bit.
That was Brandon Powell, the wide receiver, who was almost able to reel that in there at the back of the end zone.
Look, as I think I've familiarized you with the rule of cool.
Yes.
If it looks cool,
if it's
it should
cool,
stay in.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. If you dropped it, don't care. It looked cool. Like, come on now.
See if they can connect this time.
Yeah, I see a little screen set up there. Looks like that one's to Jaden Walker. And hey, that'll work.
Oh, there we go.
That'll work. Hey, look, if we can't get the first touchdown, let's set up a screen to our running back, and he'll take it in himself. Jaden Walker doing it right there. And McKinney North not going away quietly.
He's trying to see exactly how much time is left
in
that fourth quarter. But, yeah, for McKinney North, they get a score there. And depending on maybe having to do an onside kick, get another score quickly, you never know. This one has this one's coming down to the wire, 14-7. And looks like Pearland on the move with 92 seconds left in regulation.
Yeah,
and they're on the right side of the 50.
Here we go. I mean, this one's coming down to fittingly, which defense can maybe hold a stop here, as you see, just kind of chucked it up in the end zone.
Oh, my goodness. He's in.
Oh, my goodness. That'll work. Look, that'll work for a game that has not had many offensive highlights.
That is Patrick Bridges, the wide receiver, who reels it in and makes that grab and just kind of rides the defender into the end zone.
I was about to say, that's the thing with these like defensive showdowns is like eventually some offense is going to have to make a play, right? And when it does, it turns out to be the biggest play of the day, as you saw there with Pearland tying it up.
Wow.
Man. As you see, this one's Katie Jordan versus Fort Bend Hightower. Looks like, again, Jordan, a team that's unfortunately going to kind of end the year kind of on, looks like that one just went final. Katie Jordan kind of ending the year disappointingly. You know, they were a team that we were really looking to kind of take a step forward, and you know, by district is definitely not where they saw themselves finishing compared to the way they started the year.
Yep. And while we do have a quick moment here, we're looking at these scores, but a quick moment here on Texas Football Tonight, we do want to give a shout out and a most heartfelt thank you to any and all of the veterans watching tonight. No, Veterans Day is tomorrow, but we would not be able to enjoy all of this postseason excitement week in and week out without your tremendous sacrifice. So from everyone here at Texas Football Tonight, Dave Campbell's, we want to extend our most heartfelt thank you for your service. Again, we know Veterans Day is tomorrow, but wanted to give that shout out. Well, we had just a brief moment amidst all the chaos here in the first week of the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. And I mean, we got one game tied now with under a minute and a half to go. Yeah.
Works. This is crazy. I mean, these first 2 weeks are the craziest because that's when the biggest upsets happen in the playoffs, right? It's kind of similar to the first weekend of March Madness, right?
Yeah.
That's when the Giants can fall. This is when the underdogs can kind of rise up. As we see here, taking a look at some more scores, you want to see where some upsets are not happening. It's in 4A D1. Springtown taking care of business. Tyler Chapel Hill really looking like they shed off last week, or was it last week at Kilgore?
Yes.
So it looks like they're shedding off that loss to Kilgore pretty well. Lavernia, Lampasas, Needville, China Spring. I mentioned them earlier when I was at the green screen. A team that just looks like they take a little bit of a step back this year, finishing off Lake Worth and really looking to move on to the area round.
Now jumping up to 5A Division II. So taking a look there, a couple of big numbers there. And, Again, we're looking at, that's a good one between Austin Crockett and Waco University. Of course, we were looking for Waco University to get a big win last weekend, came up just short, but they're hanging right.
I believe still their first time in the playoffs since 2002, right? And so that's still if they can pull this one out. I know Austin Crockett has a couple playmakers down there, so if they're able to compete with them, I believe it's Cameron Dickey, a quarterback for them, who's a Texas Tech commit. So if they're able to hang around with them, we'll see. I mentioned Alamo Heights as well as a team to kind of watch in that Region 4 area. Just again, we'll see. They're kind of in a prove it territory for me because again, that schedule was not the hardest, and so them taking care of business so far against Lockhart is very, very impressive.
And look at this. We've got 2 games tied in the final seconds. It's no quad box, but right. I mean, this is
still about
pretty good.
As good as it gets. So, question: if you're Klein Kane, let him score.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, again, now granted, this is high school kicking, so it's maybe not exactly the most reliable as like NFL. If this is the NFL, you let them score, right? Because you don't want to kick in a 25-yard field goal to win. Are you thinking about it, right? I'm wondering.
I mean, the way that their offense has been in that second half, and I mean, last time we looked on this game, I mean, they had an explosive play for a score. So maybe, depending on maybe if they have a timeout or 2 left, yeah, perhaps. But maybe if you're Bridgeland, maybe you're just wanting to kind of run up the middle, take a couple of yards, and then run it down and not even give Klein Kane an opportunity.
Sure. I think it's fitting that we're both watching 2 refs kind of figure out calls right now at the same time, too. We mentioned how it's like, it's close games, and then like at the same time, we're like, all right, the refs are going to figure something out.
We got to vamp a little bit more. So what are your holiday plans? No, I'm kidding, of course. But, yeah, and then Dickinson, Pearland, let's see where that one's at. Oh, okay, yeah, so Pearland inside the 30.
Man.
What do they have going here? They're just going to, they're going to run it up the middle, and they're going to try
to get in the field goal range, I think.
And how about this one? We got Cy Springs Tomball Memorial. That one close as well on the 4th.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm sweating a little bit here.
I was about to say, this is crazy.
109 left in that one. A shout out to Ashley Pickle, who unfortunately not here on the desk with us this week. So I'm not being bullied up here, which is nice. But she's given us the updates from in there. So shout out to Ashley. And so 1:09 left to go in that game.
Yep.
And now we'll see Pearland looking to make the field goal to win and go to the next round as they ran it up the middle, let it go down to 1 second.
Looks like Cy Springs got near the red zone here, I'm looking. So they're trying to really punch this one. I don't want to say punch it in, but potentially set up a field goal.
And Bridgeland doing the same exact thing, just run right up the middle, right between the tackles, and try and take time off and set up a
looks like they will. They're going to set up one more play maybe. Maybe spike it here. Nope, they're going to call a timeout. Or somebody's calling timeout. Looks like, I'm assuming it's Bridgeland, but yeah.
All right, top left. Pearland, an opportunity to win it. Yeah, look over to the big screen. Big screen over here. A second to go. It was a bit of a high snap. Kick is
no good.
Short. We're going to overtime.
Wow.
In
See,
Dickinson,
that's why you
Texas.
don't let them score.
Wow.
Because you never know. It's iffy in college. Kickers, man, I'm telling you, kickers in big moments. It's every level, right?
Yeah.
Every level. It's hard to make a field goal at any level in the sport. So, yeah, I mean, wow, this one's going overtime. Looks like.
I mean, it didn't look like it was blocked, but
no, I think it was just off. Yeah. And it looks like they're going to call Cy Springs for false start a little bit, according to the ref's signal there. I think that was Cy Springs that called.
Bridgeland will have a bit of a shorter. They'll have a shorter attempt than Pearland just did.
Yeah, it looks like about.
They're on the 20.
Yeah. About a 30-yarder, a little bit maybe.
So we'll see here. As now does Bridgeland, will they be able to celebrate, or will this game go into overtime? We'll take you live to the stadium.
His range. From 37 yards out to walk it off. Kick is low, and the kick is wide left, no good.
Field goal attempt is no good.
Bonus coverage from CFFCU Stadium. We go to overtime, folks. Take a quick break and sort this out. I promised a fantastic finish. Could it be more?
Wow, so we're 0 for 2 on the walk-off field goal attempt. So we got a couple of overtime games coming up.
Yeah, I mean 0 for 2, but like you mentioned, the good news is get overtime.
Yeah.
By the way, again, a little bit of a hint, right? We tuned in for those. Subscribe if you want the full game.
This is where it gets dangerous. If you do run the football and you're tackled in bounds, that clock is now running.
You can't run.
And you can't spike it because it'll be fourth down.
You cannot run this whatsoever.
I agree. This has to be a pass.
This needs to be and you can't even run a screen here either, honestly. Mass being pressured, you got to get it away, and throws it out of bounds.
Took down a couple cheerleaders. I saw that kind of buzzed the tower there. The ball run went over their heads, and they all hit the dirt.
Now, here's the only thing. Is this in a spot where your kicker wants it? It's going to be on the left hash, moving from right to left.
Yeah, you don't have any choice in this situation. The ball's on the 24, so 41-yarder, so well within his range.
Whew, here we go. 41-yard field goal, and you know Tomball will probably call a timeout here.
Try to ice the kicker.
18 seconds left. And a timeout is called. 30-29. Were you expecting this? Oh!
I knew it was going to be good, brother. I don't know if it's going to quite be like this.
Timeout, Tomball, 18 seconds. This actually might be the best game that I've called
I think
in my 8, 9, or 10 years of calling high school football. This right here has everyone on the edge of their seats. And someone is going to go on to the second round of the playoffs. Let's see if we have an update on who they will play. Right now, Willis is up 48-20 over Nimitz. Here is the field goal. Here we go. 18 seconds. And Heredia.
Be a 42-yarder.
From 42 out. Heredia. Here we go. For the lead, the snap, the hold, the kick. They are not all good. It is short, and Tomball Memorial will go on to the second round.
The players rushing the field. Now it's not quite over. They still do got to get the snap, right? I mean,
JT Barrett and James Kolowowski providing the electricity on that final opportunity for Cy Spring. We'll see. Maybe the defense can get something. I mean, there was 18 seconds left.
It looks like you can just kneel it out.
Yep, 11
Unless you're Mario
seconds
Cristobal at Miami, then you can run
you never know.
Then you can run it and fumble and get the ball back. So
it does look like Tomball Memorial will advance.
Yeah, no, 100%. Incredible game. I mean, as we saw from both teams, and again, it's such literally a game of inches, as you saw there. It looked like it fell just like a half inch short almost. But again, 42 yards, that's a long field goal too for anybody to make at any level.
So now we've got a double OT box here on Texas football tonight. Bridgeland, Klein Kane tied at 42, where again the Bears had a 24-0 lead at one point in that first half, and Klein Kane came storming back, took the lead in the fourth. Bridgeland responded, and that one's in overtime now. And then the defensive struggle, Dickinson and Pearland.
Dickinson and Pearland look. I mean, again, it was a defensive struggle until offenses finally had to make plays, and then all of a sudden there were the two most important offensive plays of the night. And of course, both both of them ending also on missed field goals that has it to. Oh, it looks like that could have been a pick there. The Dickinson defender was turned around.
Including for Pearland at the toward the end of regulation, Patrick Bridges, the big catch and play into the end zone. And now the Bears looking to get into the end zone and strike first in overtime. They'll be set up pretty inside the 5.
Yep. As we're seeing now, it looks like
Hudson Pollard on the carry.
Yep. Looks like he's hobbling a little bit, but looks like he's running it off okay.
Beg your pardon, actually. Noah Allen Collier. There we go.
As we see Jet Lewis in the Bear offense trying to punch it in here. Can they do
He'll
it?
keep
keeper,
it.
Look at that beautiful keeper. Read the defender crashing, and he said, you know what, I got this myself.
drawn to perfection that time for the Bears as they strike first in overtime. Yeah, talking about that game a little bit earlier with Chris Elliott was talking about the run game of Jet Lewis and how it's primarily how he was getting stuff done in the first half, and right there, read option, run to perfection.
Yep. Now you're going to go for an extra point here, hopefully make it a touchdown game, and that puts a lot of pressure on Klein Kane now because you know what you need, but that means you got to get it done.
Right down the middle, so yeah, now Klein Kane will have their opportunity to keep their season alive.
By the way, a little bit of an update. Lake Travis 13, Vandergrift 10.
Oh, wow.
With 1 second left. So Lake Travis maybe.
Pearland just missing their field goal attempt, so now the Gators, they just need, at the very least, a field goal to advance to the next round.
So yeah, that's all they need. And so, yeah, so I was just looking at the Lake Travis there. I mean, 1 second left. Lake Travis maybe about to pull the first big upset of the playoffs, knocking off Vandergrift, who I had coming out of the region, something about winning state potentially. So, yeah, that's massive.
One game that was not an upset, the Byron Nelson Bobcats, a 52-21 lead over Crowley in their first-round matchup. So, shout out to the Bobcats.
Of course.
All right, going back to these overtime games. So now Klein Kane with their opportunity on offense, and first play not going anywhere.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get it on the ground there, but as you can see, Bridgeland saying, "No, we're going to make Isaiah Mooring throw it."
Now the Gators elect to pass on their first play on offense,
Which I think is a little interesting because you would think that you would know what you need.
You know it. Yep.
Stay on the ground, and then you know any points wins it. So I don't know, unless it was like a guaranteed like screen play or something to kind of really be easy. Looks like Klein Kane tried to throw a ball there, and it looked like it was that's going to fall incomplete. So all of a sudden,
brings up third down now.
Third and long, yeah, for Klein Kane, needing a touchdown. Remind you, they need a touchdown plus the extra point.
Well, again, you know, Bridgeland would be breathing a huge sigh of relief if they can get 2 more stops after going up 24-0.
Yeah, I was about to say, how about coming back and holding on to this one?
Wow, and they get it right at the sticks and then past the sticks. A big play that time, and the Klein Kane offense stays alive, and that is Blaine Bullard, who had that big touchdown grab earlier in the fourth quarter.
Nice.
Number 3 comes up with a clutch grab right there. Quarterback keeper now up the middle.
Mooring trying to do it himself.
Just shy will bring up 2nd and goal. Now see what the Gators are trying to draw up. Again, they just need a field goal to win it because Pearland had the ball first. They missed their opportunity, and it's a touchdown for Isaac Mooring. Just takes it in.
Yep, looks like they still need to make the extra point,
yep.
Of course. But an extra point would send this to double overtime.
Klein Kane would get the ball right back, same as college overtime rules.
Which I'm curious, what are your thoughts on college overtime rules?
I like it. I
like it?
I think it was after the third, or going into the third overtime, that's when you have to start going for
after I think it's also, I can't remember if it's also you just get the ball like where the 2-point conversion is, I think. It just becomes like a shootout.
Right, yeah.
But yes, you do have to go for 2 as well.
I like that.
So yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about it.
Yeah.
Because like I think it takes out, now it's better than the NFL, right? I think that.
Yeah,
but I personally think that you should get the ball around the 20. So anyway. That's a long discussion about overtime, but I do like this better if both teams getting a chance.
We'll take you live on the call in Dickinson, Texas.
With a chance to win it here from the right hash. Kick is blocked! Blocked! Pearland has it, and it doesn't matter because we're going to overtime number 2. The kick is blocked. I can't believe it. It is coming down to this. Special teams, as the kicking woes continue for both squads.
No, he doesn't. Rogers keeps it. They walk it off.
Rogers goes into the end zone for a
the Klein Kane Hurricanes pull off a thriller. 50-49, your final score. And they are celebrating, and that sounds.
I love that.
Gutsy, gutsy, gutsy. How about Klein Kane looking to end it all right there?
Yeah.
And they do as, wow.
I love that. I love that.
Darius Rogers.
Going for 2, knowing that you are, knowing that you're the underdog, right? Playing against 9-1 Cy Bridgeland. You've erased the deficit, right? They're trying to go. You know what? Screw it. We're ending the game. I love it. I love those kind of calls. Of course, if it doesn't work out, all of a sudden people are blaming you. But I love but I love putting your faith in your kids, saying no, let's go and win this game right now. Like that's a call that the coach grabs the quarterback. He's like, what do you think? Right? He looks at he's played against his defense the whole night. He's like, what do you think? Right? And he looks at his coordinator. He's like, let's go. Let's what do you think here? So putting his faith in his players, I love all of that. So that's a huge call, and congrats to Klein Kane for pulling it out.
James Clancy, the head coach there with the gutsy call. And how about this ending, or I guess not an ending.
That's a continuation.
Trevor Bullard on the call. A blocked kick for Dickinson, a chance to advance. And they do get the ball back right after missing that field goal opportunity now in the second overtime. But a huge play special teams-wise for Pearland.
As you can see, this one kind of wipes the slate clean now. It was like, okay, we only need a field goal. It's like, well, all right, back to square one.
Man, at the top of the show, and you were reading the highlights from Allen and Lewisville last night, we were talking about, man, we hope that's kind of the tone setter for the night.
Listen.
We got 2 games in overtime, one already over, one in second overtime.
Yep, 100%. So we'll see here. Of course, they got to go for 2 if they score here. And then it becomes a little bit more of a shootout because they get the ball where they would kick the extra point and they just go back and forth, basically. Which again, I think personally, because we have you had the question about the longest or the highest scoring game, right? This kind of skews like the longest game ever because like it's not really that long if they're just like trading play after play a little bit. So it can go to like 8 overtimes, but like be the length of like a 4 overtime game. So, but this was kind of the NCAA and therefore the UIL and NFHS kind of taking on their own rules, saying, let's shorten some of these long games a little bit.
Which, real quick, checking back in on that Matt Stepp game, it is 80-42 now, Panhandle. It says still in the third quarter.
Okay, so look, that point total starting to look a little not as insurmountable.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Again, says still in the third quarter, so we'll see. We'll take a look at scores now, 5A Division I. And, of course, we were looking at Frisco Wakeland, 21-10 over Mansfield Timberview. A big game there for Frisco Wakeland.
How about Justin Northwest? They're taking care of business against Midlothian.
Shout out to my sister's alma mater there, Northwest.
There you go. Well, I was going to say, speaking of another wide receiver, Brian Wesco potentially playing his last game if Northwest holds on to this one. College Station up 10 on Bernie Champion. Of course, Edinburgh Villa, a team to watch there in the Valley, is a potential regional challenger there in Region 4, taking care of business against Westlacote East as well.
Jumping up to 6A Division II, we saw a couple of videos on social media, Denton Geyer, and it got chippy in the pregame warm-ups between those two teams out in Campbell, and it looks like the Cowboys with a nice cushion there over Denton Geyer.
Yeah, Campbell really just continuing that magical season. And we mentioned, of course, Katie Jordan, of course, this year not ending. I believe that was a final, 35-7, lost to Fort Bend Hightower. Not exactly the year they wanted based on how they started. But how about Dripping Springs as well, taking care of business against Vista Ridge, a team to watch there in that region as well.
And now to a 6A Division I, Lake Travis 13-10.
That is a final, that is a final, 13-10 over Austin Vandergrift. I mean, that's a mass. One, that's a very frustrating draw in the bi-district round. If you're Vandergrift, right, you draw Lake Travis. But unfortunately, they were the favorites and they did not come out on top. There's a Hank Carter squad getting it done.
How about Lake Highlands, a close one over South Grand Prairie?
Yep.
All right, back to a little bit of bonus action as the Gators have it again in the second overtime, and almost
a pick there. Oof.
Hit as he was throwing the ball.
Man.
And got lucky there.
Yep. This one's we'll see, because again, we're starting to see it's been a chess match all game with these teams not finding many big plays, and it's kind of it's ironic a little bit that it's like, okay, one of these offenses has to make a play again, right?
Wow, it's coming down to the wire. It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of really close scores, but a couple of surprising ones. What are one or two that have really? I mean, I know the Vandergrift one.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
shocking.
That one's definitely the most surprising by far. I'll also give a shout out to Campbell and Geyer. Campbell really looking like the team that they have all season against a team like Geyer. I think it shows that Antonio Wiley's team is going to be here. Is going to be a force in the playoffs. But definitely that Vandergrift Lake Travis score. I think you have to start with that one when you're talking about upsets all over the state.
Yep.
Even going back to last night, you can look at Little River Academy beating Hitchcock. Again, that's a team that I expected probably with the best quarterback in that classification to make a run. I had them as my state champions.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is like the first weekend of the NCAA tournament where the big names fall. We start figuring out who we love in terms of like teams we weren't talking about earlier in the year. Like I mentioned, Lake Travis, it's been a quote-unquote down year by their standards, but like all they've done is just retool things, right? Now it's a running attack instead of an air raid or kind of a spread attack. It's a defensive team instead of mainly an offensive team. And as you see now, they shut down one of the top offenses in the area in Deuce Adams and Vandergrift, as we see.
And how about this Pearland defense? Coming up with big play after big play.
This is going to be long. I believe if it's fourth down, it's going to be a long field goal attempt potentially.
Well, fourth and about fourth and 22. Arthur airing it out, and it's picked off. Pearland's defense forces another interception. They've got 3 interceptions tonight on D as Arthur throws another pick, and now the Oilers can win it, as all they need is a field goal to stun the Gators into their 9-game winning streak, and would be their first win in playoff history, at least in the last decade, against Dickinson. Again, they faced them 5 times. They've lost every single one of them. 2014, lost 35-21. Gators pulled away late. At NRG in 2015, a 4-overtime thriller. Gators walk them off 26-23. 2018, at the Rig, Pearland's undefeated season ended 49-21. Right here at Sam Vitanza, Gators score with 6:32 left to take a 28-23 lead. And then last year, Gators scored 2 unanswered touchdowns to win 35-21. Morkowski lost the ball on a bad snap, and Dickinson recovers. Well, we're going to third overtime. Be back in a sec.
The minute. What is that game right now, Ish?
Listen, I said that some team's going to have to make a play, and they said no. Just said no. So, yeah, this is crazy.
So I think it is going to the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, where the ball's spotted at the extra point / 2-point conversion line, and they just trade plays basically back and forth until.
So at some point it's going to get.
So basically they're saying like one of y'all score. Like this basically is basically what the rule is saying now. Somebody's got to score and somebody's got to stop you. So. We'll see, because, yeah, those last 2 possessions, it basically looked like it was going to continue doing the defensive thing the whole time. So that is crazy.
How about Trevor Bowler? What a game he has tonight to be on the call.
I feel great for him now because like it looked like he was getting kind of a snooze fest a little bit. And now he's like, all right, I guess I just got to ramp it up for this crazy finish, as we saw in the middle of the 4th through now, basically. As you're seeing now, Pearland. They may get called for probably defensive pass interference on that one, but there you are. It looks like it will be a flag on.
We'll take
Pearland.
it back out to Trevor Bullard.
So Patrick Bridges' two-point conversion catch won't count. We got offensive pass interference. And man, that's rough. So now all the way back here. Again, they're just going to trade twos. Bridges was just in motion. Murkowski under duress, heaves one. It is caught! Two-point conversion, it's good. Oh, he dropped it. He dropped it. He dropped it. He was wide open, and I can't believe Logan Johnson dropped it. Well, Dickinson can win it here. Well, after Logan Johnson dropped the two-point conversion, Dickinson can win it right here in triple overtime. If not, we're going to 4 overtimes. Man in motion. Keeper, powering, stopped! We're going to overtime number 4. And we'll keep it here. Gators gonna have possession and time to regroup.
Just no good. 4th overtime. Dickinson will have the attempt first.
And what a wild game this has been. I mean, it's kind of had everything. Big run by McDowell. A clutch drive by the freshman. And the freshman and Lorenzo Guille for the go-ahead touchdown to take the lead. Got the big two-point conversion as well. Patrick Bridges tying the game with less than a minute 40 left. Minute 30 left. It was 1:23 left when he caught that touchdown pass. Bad snap. Put Pearland in field goal position. They couldn't get it. And then a wild one, and it's now 4 overtimes. You have to feel for Logan Johnson dropping that wide open two-point conversion after Patrick Bridges' two-point conversion got called because of PI, and then the big stop by the Pearland D. And now here we are for the first part of overtime 4. False start, that's going to back them up 5. A reminder, that game in 2015 also went to 4 overtimes. A little bit higher scoring, 26-23 the final, and that time we didn't trade a little shorter overtimes because we didn't just trade two-point conversions. We still did the rules of you got to score and then go for 2 after the 3rd overtime, but now they changed the rules, so now we just trade 2s. From the 8. And Coach Snelson calling a timeout. We'll keep it here. Probably the only game I could think of. I mean, we've just had a wild night. I mean, thing is, 23-6A, not the best night offensive, or best of the night showing. Dawson going down.
Okay, well, earlier, Ish, you said someone's got to make a play. I just said just a second ago, and they took that as a threat, and now they're holding out to try and prove you wrong.
I said overtime was basically designed now for again, it forces you to make a play. Yeah. And what's happening is both teams are saying no. They're saying actually not happening. Yeah. But regardless, isn't this fitting for like a game that was very low scoring, that had a random spurt of offense towards the end, and then just no one scores in overtime. Usually you've seen like back and forths and like, oh, they score, then they score. And it's like, what if we just had no scoring? No scoring at all. I am a little bit of a bias here, but I am very happy this is going to a fourth overtime because I didn't want it to end on that kid dropping a wide open touchdown. So I am happy that that's resolved a little bit, because if that would have finished the game and they would have lost and allowed the 2-point conversion, that's a bad time for that kid. He's going to remember that for a while. So again, put it out of his mind, right? That's what the coaching staff is doing. So yeah, this one has to end eventually.
Take it away, Trevor.
Over the middle, incomplete. Incomplete, and Pearland can win it here.
The number 84, Peterson.
Look at Raquela Peterson. And all you got to do is get a 2-point conversion, and you move it on to take on the Atascocita Eagles. That's all you got to do. Can they do it? It's the question. They've never beaten Dickinson in the past decade. 0 for 5 for them in the playoffs. Mentioned earlier in the overtime periods, that playoff history. And they can end it right now with the 2-point conversion. Markovsky going under center, I formation. Look, fade route, can't reel in the one-handed grab, and no flags as well. Oh, there it is. There it is. They throw in the flag called on Rodney Bibbage, and here we go again. Let's try that one more time. Here in overtime number 4. Here we go. Giving it off and lunging, and no! We're going to overtime number 5.
Down short of the goal line.
Be back with you in a moment.
Overtime number 5.
Here in Dickinson.
Go route system has been a
all right. I feel bad for the students, the interns here, that they probably want to go out and do stuff. They want to party on a Friday night.
Listen, no. Here's the thing. So after first of all, I'm not a fan of the fade on any scenario, right? Afterward, I was like, they're either gonna. I think that was the setup. That pass interference almost set up the run, because I was like, I don't think they're gonna run here. They throw the fade, pass interference, set up the run, and then it looked like they tripped over his own guy. If I'm being honest, it looked like the block fell down. He just tripped over him and fell short. If he doesn't trip over, he maybe scores. But look, like you mentioned, I'm starting to take that personally now, because they really took me saying that somebody has to make a play. Personally saying no.
You can look at it on the defensive side, and they're making plays.
Look, that pass interference was the play. It's like that. He's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to give you a chance to catch it, and we're going to make the defense get a stop. So again, this is part of the new rules, right? It's been the first or second? This is the second or third year, I can't remember, of these new overtime rules. it does create for moments like this where you're reacting to literally everything because anything can happen in any one of these plays. So it's crazy. I will guarantee one thing, that the game has to end eventually.
Yeah.
Now, how it ends?
At some point, right?
It's not on me. How
Quick
it ends,
update,
it's whatever.
Another guy who's been staying at the stadium for a long time, Matt Stepp. That's 86-54.
Murkowski, fade, caught! Patrick Bridges with a 2-point conversion, and Pearland needs to stop. So Pearland taking their first lead since they led 7-6 early in the third quarter. And so now, can Dickinson respond? Well, y'all, game comes down to this, right here in overtime number 5. Pearland's defense has been great in these goal-to-go situations. Can they get one more stop and win it here? Here we go, powering, pushing, no, he stopped short, and Pearland wins in overtime number 5. They're headed on to take Atascocita in round number 2. What a game!
All right, so looks like for the first time in the last decade that Pearland gets the win over Dickinson in the postseason.
Yeah, according to Trevor, 0-5 Pearland was against Dickinson, and what a way to end that. I mean, a defensive stop when they needed it last, but of course it came down to that fade where it looks like the defenders, looks like there was some hand play, but things happen. Things happen, right?
They made a play.
They
the
made
receiver
a
made a play
when it needed to happen. So congrats to Pearland for a massive, massive win. Definitely the highlight of the weekend by far. I mentioned the Vandergrift upset, but definitely the highlight of the weekend, that game right there.
All right, well, same time next week.
Let's do it,
Looking forward to it.
Around.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It lived up to the billing tonight. Again, we had a couple of lopsided scores, but man, what an ending! Couple of games in overtime.
We're overtime.
There was another one that came down to a missed field goal right at the wire. We've been up here for a while, so we're going to go ahead and shut things down. We hope you had as much fun watching it at home as we did here in the studios, and we're looking forward to another exciting week next week. For our producers, Mallory Hartley and Ashley Pickle, our director, Blaine Tatum, and for Ish Johnson, I'm Nick Laupia saying good night, and again, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. We'll see you here next week.